in the last 2 weeks since we recorded, I've consumed so much media, I don't know where to begin.
Oh, that's exciting.
This movie is so good, but I can't think of one person that I could recommend it to.
Wow.
It's absurd and comical, and then it's uncomfortable, and then it's just heartbreaking.
Is it just like a thing that a certain type of personality, whatever, just takes on things until you're just full? And then and then the work is somehow trying to empty out enough of that to where you don't lose your shit at a moment, or like a blink of an eye.
and just like, it's so fucking amazing. We are live. Welcome to Long Walk, Short Drink, episode 54. This is the Sleepy Palmer podcasting to you live if you're watching, not live if you're listening to this on a recording from Dayton, Ohio.
And this is a Soggy Dave coming to you from rainy Northfield, Minnesota.
Is it hot up there? It is so fucking...
It has been.
Oh my God, it's so fucking ridiculously hot here.
I think it's just starting to break, and with a lot of this rain that we're having right now. And Bride and I just ran out to walk the pups before in a short lull in the rain.
Oh yeah,
the sogginess. But yeah, it's been unpleasant. But I think Friday it's supposed to be like a high of 50, but even tomorrow is supposed to be hot. It's been weird.
Yeah, we're supposed to be hot all the way up until Saturday, and then the high 71, but the low is 57. So that's like open your windows when you sleep weather. I love that. That like 50 to 65 temperature like is perfect. It could stay right in that range all year round and I'd be happy.
Yeah, I could deal with that. The sleeping weather, the Bride loves that the windows open. I do too, really, if at all possible. I just want to be comfortable. It's got to be in the 50s at night for us to pop the windows.
And we're already up to 2 viewers. Thanks for joining us already on Long Walk Short Drink episode 54. It's I'm gonna take a guess. It's Moto and maybe Twinkie. I don't know if Double D's on yet. He might not. Maybe it is Double D. I don't know. But if you're not either of those people, thanks for joining us. Be sure
including them, of course. But I know what you mean.
Oh Jesus! Yes, the thanks goes without saying if it's them. Yes. Oh my gosh, foot in my mouth. We just started.
No, I know what you mean. I think they know what you mean. Welcome, one and all.
Wake the fuck up, Palmer. Jesus. Thanks for joining us. That's what I'm trying to say to our 2 viewers already. We go live. Maybe it's Broadman. Could be Broadman too.
Oh yeah.
If you're still, if you're joining us, make sure you can chat with us in the chat window. I got that up. I try to keep an eye on that.
I'll try to open it here too.
Yeah.
I'm on a smaller single screen tonight, but I think I can make something happen.
I'm bad about I try not to bury that. So I have on the dummy computer that hosts the session, I have that that window is not maximized. And then I have another window behind it so I can see just the chat. So if something pops on there. So all right. Man, I feel like it has. I really like this every other week where we're releasing an episode and then recording an episode and releasing an episode and recording an episode. It gives me a better chance to catch up. I finally am into our current episodes. Thankfully, I finally finished the episode 50 cut. Moto.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much. Those were some great additions there. It was great to have that little touchback for an episode. That episode was so good. I also started 51, and I go on a big. This is a big. In episode 51, you say that Alec Baldwin won an Oscar for his performance in Glengarry Glen Ross. That is completely inaccurate. He did not even get. He won a. He did win an award for it as best supporting actor, but it was not an Oscar. Al Pacino was nominated for best supporting actor, but I don't think he won it. So I know. What the fuck?
Yeah. Fuck you, John.
And that's the story you tell, too, which is great.
I always think of that when I think about that movie. Because it's rare you say fuck you in the name of your boss and they happen to enter the room regardless.
That's like perfect timing. Shit. That's a twofer. We got 2 episodes out of that story. That's right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I really like it. It just like, I feel like though every time we record, it's like, oh my God, I haven't talked to Dave in so long. Like this, like I can feel the absence of Long Walk Short Drink, in my life on the off week of recording, which is, it's just interesting how quickly I've come to really appreciate and depend on this, which is great. So,
yeah, me too.
I'm on a music kick right now, so I'm really like splitting my time between our podcast so I can get caught up again and then or stay relatively caught up. I like being a couple behind because I feel like then I can go and correct bullshit that I say. So, but I've been bouncing it between that and music. Speaking of, so I listened to the Willie Nelson album that Twinkie talked about, Teatra or oh shit, I should have put it on here. I listened to that album at work.
I just thought about that again today too, because I actually have a music thing for my Dave's Digs, and I was trying to find a good way into like how to show a clip, and so or hear a clip without getting too crazy, and I went to the iTunes store I thought that might be a good way of doing that, and on the front page was a Willie Nelson album. I think it was called My Way. I don't know if it's a new album.
I think that one's a little
reminded me of
his most recent one, which it came out on his 84th birthday. He's had the one article that I read because so here's the thing. So I listened to Teatro, and you can totally hear the Island Records in that production.
You mean like, what do you mean by that?
So that's the album that it has one of the producers that produced some albums with U2 on it, right?
Probably Daniel Lanois. That would be my guess.
I don't have it up. I did have it up, but
I'll just wild conjecture. That's like almost a 50-50. That's,
you can hear, I don't know, like those records, like the albums that came out of that studio, because it's Island Records, right? Was their label?
Yeah, that was the imprint. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just feel like when I started to listen to it, I was like, yeah, this is totally like Island Records. It's very drum heavy. Like the drums are super prominent throughout the whole album, and it's almost like it's him with an acoustic guitar, and he's so haunting. And then there's like calypso drums playing, like, and it's like these two contrasts between the two things. So I didn't want to, like, I know Twinkie said like that's an album that's really different compared to his other works, and so I didn't want to just judge. I want to listen to more Willie Nelson before I can like make a judgment even on that one album. But if I into a corner with a gun against my head, the drums are really off-putting. I almost want them not to be there so I can just hear like Willie Nelson and a guitar. because his voice is like really haunting. It's great. So
Oh, that's cool. It is Daniel Lanois. And I do think he has a special interest in drums. I remember Larry Mullen Jr. talking about that when he got, because Steve Lillywhite did their first 3 albums, and then they started working with Lanois and Brian Eno. And I remember Larry was talking about how he was how Lillywhite was great, but he was much more interested in, say, vocals or other things. But Lanois took a special interest in the drums. So he sounds like, yeah, that can be for good or bad.
So then, and then that led me down this rabbit hole. I watched this, and today, then I watched this really awesome kid do a Cranberries cover on a ukulele, and he was so good. Like Ash watched the video, and she's like, "That guy's a prodigy." He was playing the vocals with the vocal portion of the song with his bottom 2 fingers, and then playing the actual song with the top 2 fingers on the ukulele. So it was like,
whoa.
It was like the whole song all together. He didn't sing it all, but you could hear the singing. It was just crazy. And so then that made me think of the Eddie Vedder Ukulele Songs album, which is like, in my opinion, just like grossly underrated, just like stupid underrated. It's so fucking awesome. But there is, I need to do smoking stats, because there's a song on that album where Eddie Vedder starts the song by opening a Zippo lighter.
Oh yeah.
And lighting a cigarette, and you hear him like take a hit and exhale it, and then he starts playing. And for anybody that smokes, or anybody who has smoked and quit, congratulations first off. If you've ever lit a cigarette with a Zippo lighter, that it has a flavor uncomparable to anything else. Like it that first hit of a cigarette lit off of a Zippo lighter tastes different. And my connection to sound, I don't know if other people are like this, but my connection to sound is so memory inducing that when he exhaled, I could taste that taste in my mouth.
Wow.
Like I had just taken that hit. So I've been, Ash and I have been going through some stuff, and just, whatever. I felt in the last few months, I've wanted to smoke more than I have in the last year. And then that today really was, so I've not smoked in 2 years, 77 days, 11 hours and 32 minutes. I've saved $4,118. And I've not smoked. This is so fucking crazy. I've not smoked 13,727 cigarettes since I quit.
Whoa, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's great. I kind of missed that segment. Now it was almost like nostalgic for me to hear that.
Yeah, so I had to do that because here, and I'll send you that screenshot of that.
Yeah.
I had to do that because especially in the last, I would say, week, it's been close a couple times where I've just almost gone and bought cigarettes. And I mean, I couldn't. I've never entertained it more than like, oh man, cigarettes. But the craving is really there, like stronger than it has been in a while. And so I had to open that up. After I tasted that, I was like, man,
from listening to that song,
from listening to that one song. And I swear, like when he exhales, like my mouth was just flooded with that flavor. Like, because it's like a Zippo lighter you use a fluid instead of like butane. So it has almost this like charcoaly, like when you first light a charcoal fire, that's what it almost tastes like that. But then mixed with this, it's just a weird flavor. And like he exhaled it, like, because he exhales right into the mic. So it's like, and like literally I could feel my mouth fill up with that flavor, just like I had just lit that cigarette myself. So Ash, she's like, maybe you should, when you took your smoking cessation class, she always said that anybody was welcome to come back at any point in time. She called it a nicotine tune-up, so that you could just get a little refresher, like a little realignment to, she's like, maybe you should go back to that class. And so I think I'm going to do that next week, maybe.
Oh, that's
pop down
nice.
there and just do a visit. Hey, this is what I've done. So, yeah. So
I mean, it's good that it's good the way that you're thinking about it. It sucks that you're having to struggle with it.
yeah, you know, an addict is an addict is an addict. You never, like alcoholics. Stephen King still calls himself an alcoholic, right? Like I think that's part of that healing process, is to be able to tell yourself, like, this is a part of me. And whether you believe you let it become a part of you, or whether you believe there's a genetic or some kind of physiological thing that is associated with that addiction, at the end of the day, though, everybody's rock bottom is different. And I really define like your rock bottom as just saying, this is a part of me that I need to learn how to cope with. So, yeah, I talked to somebody who had been quit smoking for 25 years, and I remember asking them, do you still think about having a cigarette? And like deadpan, no hesitation, looked me right in the eyes, said, I think about it every day, and I think that's true. When I was I was in my early 20s when I asked that with that person. I mean, that's a person it was a supervisor at a stupid job, right? And that has stayed with me, though. And I remember thinking even then, like, that must be fucking terrible, But now I realize, it's just a piece of it. Just a piece of it that you just have to come to terms with and accept. So,
yeah, I remember you saying that because I heard you say it on the podcast, and that stuck with me, even not having to. I don't think I've ever been physically or chemically addicted to anything. I mean, I've tried to give things up and stuff. Actually, I picked my wedding ring up today because I had to get it resized.
Yeah.
Because I had actually lost. I don't weigh myself because I just don't.
Yeah.
But over the last, I don't know, however long, maybe a year or so, I have lost enough weight to where like my wedding ring is coming off all the time. And I've made a lot of change and tried a lot of things, but I honestly think that part of it, that much weight loss, came from just cutting back on how often I would reach for beer or wine for, like my evening elixir.
Right.
But so yeah, that has been a conscious choice, but that wasn't something. I don't know. It's not really comparable for me. I guess I don't want to put it in the same department, but yeah, I still think about that phrase for some reason quite a bit whenever I think of addiction in some way. I think about that thing that your boss told you that I heard second or third hand. That's a powerful, and I think about it for the same reason. I'm like, God, that sounds so fucking hard.
Yeah.
So it's interesting too, like that other thing where you say it's like it. Yeah, it's just, what did you say? It's something it's a part of you.
It's just a part of you that you just have
to live with.
I mean, it's like being left-handed or having a birthmark on the end of your nose or detached earlobes or webbed toes. Like you just have to be able to say that's just part of who I am. And once you can admit that, I feel like then you can say, okay, well then how do I deal with it? How do I manage it? How do I present that part of me to other people? How do I keep that part of me from wrecking or ruining everything else in my life? How do I keep that part of me from not being the dominant part of me, like the most prevalent part of me? I don't want it to be. So, and I think that's the first step, is like you have to want it. and that comes with.
Oh, I see you're looking at the chat.
Yeah. So
it's so interesting that everything you just said, I actually relate to hardcore for non-addiction things that I'm seeking treatment for. I guess you could call it treatment. Yeah, because I go to actual therapy on off weeks from long walk short drinks. So I have dude therapy, and then the other weeks I go to clinical therapy to essentially try to do exactly what you're saying, like try to find a way to live with this part of everything you just said. Really hit me in terms of like, fuck. I am trying to give up a certain way of thinking, I guess. But fuck if that doesn't like hit home in a way that I wouldn't have thought would when you started that paragraph. That's so wild.
But I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
You gotta love yourself first, right? And I think that comes in a bunch of different ways. I really take that meaning. You just have to understand yourself, and and that comes from introspection and self-reflection, but then you need tools to be able to deal with those pieces of yourself, or else they'll just run out of control.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the internal versus external locus? Sorry, it's locus. Internal or external locus of control.
No.
You've ever heard of that?
No.
So that was, I think the bride has mentioned that to me from some of her mental or her helping profession background. And it's helped give me a sort of a framework around some of the things that I think are issues for me. But I remember hearing, I remember hearing, not with that term, but when I was in college, like taking a psychology overview course, and there was this thing that stuck with me the same way, just like these little comments can. And it had something to do with like a way of thinking about things where I think the example that the professor gave was like, if you had a test and you got a bad grade on the test, one way to think about it is like, well, I didn't study enough or all this or that. Actually, honestly, I can't remember that part as much, because the part that I seized upon was what the professor said, which I can't remember anything about it. I remember the room, but I can't remember man or woman or what. But I remember what they said was thinking about it in terms of like, well, it was some other problem, like it was something about the test or the teacher or something, and this idea that thinking about it in that way was somehow healthy. I always thought, like, how can that be, and how much easier must life be if you could think that? It was always just sort of in the back of my mind. I guess that is an extreme version of the external locus of control.
Okay.
To where basically you just see things like they're external forces. Like, you made me do this, or this happened I feel this way because this happened, or anyway. But the bride told me when I was debriefing one of these therapy sessions, or just some of the things I'm trying to get past, she's like, you have this is her analysis of me, that I was like, fuck, you're right. You have an overactive and somewhat problematic internal locus of control, to where you think you're always trying to think about like what you can do, what you did to make this happen. It's all kind of, and in a way that sounds good to, like, it sounds like to me it has this false air of virtue about it, but it is hugely problematic for me. And actually, I didn't used to be that way. To some extent, it was maturing a little bit and starting to understand the role that I do play in problems I have in my life. But I think whatever it is about my personalities, I seized hardcore about like, oh, if I am the cause of these things, then I can alleviate them. If I'm the cause of my own suffering in this way, then I can kind of minimize it by my own behavior. Anyway, it's kind of getting, I don't know if it's off topic or what, but it's a difficult thing. So if you're someone who has a strong internal locus of control, like you think everything is something you can affect change in your own life and stuff, and you're responsible for the good, I guess, but you tend to focus on the bad maybe. if you are also a heavily introspective person and you're working on some of those things, it's very difficult as well to, because the internal like analysis, you just like uncover more stuff that you feel like you're fucking up.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So my big thing somehow is to figure out a way to learn to, well, all of it sounds so stupid to say out loud, but
No, I don't think it's stupid at all.
Well, not the idea of it, but some of the things that I need to internalize are just like, when my therapist was saying, like, and I like her for a lot of reasons. One of which is that she never tells me what to do or think. And I went into this relationship with the idea of like, I'm just looking for some place where I can like bounce my experiences and feelings off of someone.
Yep.
Not necessarily looking to her to fix me. I'll joke sometimes. I'll come in and be like, all right, let's fix it. And knowing that will not be the case. But anyway, so she'll just sort of she'll just like, well, this is one way to think about it. And other times it's helpful in that she'll just say like, well, I'm hearing this. And I'm like, ooh, okay, that's interesting. Anyway, but so she was telling me that partially if I can just start to think like what I'm doing is enough. And as simple as saying like, you are enough. Yeah. And I was like, that sounds so like kind of silly. And I'm working on that, but because that's like exactly like you're starting to see this internal, this overdeveloped sense of internal locus is this piece of you. That's a thing that just like having two thumbs, right? And yeah, that's a piece of you. And then your therapist is giving you tools on how you can take that piece of you and live with it. Yeah, I think so. Or just, I don't even know. But it definitely is that idea, that piece of me that I need to learn to live with. I told her, because sometimes we'll be like, if there's a pressing issue or something, she has a strategy of like, well, what do you hope will happen? What would be the ideal situation of outcome of this thing that's bugging you? And I think, I don't know if it was her or some other means in which I'm working on some of this stuff. I'm like, well, what am I really after? You know what? It wasn't that. It was, I was just going off, and I was like, God damn it, man. I love I can curse around her too. Yeah. And that she'll curse back. I'm like, I just want to feel some peace. I just want to feel peace. Like, in my mind and in my heart and in my spirit. See, oh my God. We're only an hour in here. Anyway, but it's we're not even simple, an hour in. Oh God, 37 minutes in a row.
Yeah, come on. You're killing me. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
She had my headphone cord. I was about to pull the computers off the desk. Fuck. Get out of here, cat. You were cute. You were cute for a minute. We're about to adopt another cat. Fuck.
What?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Why?
I know. I want to stop. I want to go back to this. You're not going to dodge this shit. Let's finish this up.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's anything I'll solve anytime soon, but I've just been, I went there because I was out of ideas. I was out of tools like last April or whatever.
Yep.
A couple, so listeners can go back, but basically I was like going through something mostly focused at work. I think that's right. And I was like, I snapped at the bride, which wasn't a huge thing, but I was just like, I don't want to be, that's not what I want. It's like, what can and so I was just like, I don't know what else to do, what else to try. And so I decided to, I think this is that. Yeah. So anyway, I reached out, but I realized it was both like, I got to figure out a way to deal with some of this overwhelming feelings. And then I realized that I have this underlying problem of always feeling like I'm not doing enough, that I'm letting everyone down all the time.
Yeah.
It's absurd, actually, once I realized that, how often that crosses my mind and how much that informs my thinking and behaviors and stuff. So that's why I went there. And then since then there have been like things that come up, whether it's like at work or otherwise. And I've had some intense like things to go through this year. And, ultimately it comes back to that, some of those fundamental things of that same fundamental idea of like, I'm not doing enough, or I don't know. It's weird, but there is a definite root to the things that I get tripped up on. And I experience it through different parts of my life in different ways. So it's nice in a way to know that like, oh, it's all kind of coming back to this and you have to work on this. But like you say, that idea of being a part of you that you carry and or learn to accept, and I don't know, it's not a new part of me. I just think it's a part of me that didn't bring me as much pain as it does now. I keep thinking, because I get like overwhelmed about various things, but I got a lot. There's so much anger so close to the surface.
Yeah.
About all kinds of things, and I was just like, is it just like a thing that a certain type of personality, whatever, just takes on things until you're just full, and then and then the work is somehow trying to empty out enough of that to where you don't lose your shit at a moment, like a blink of an eye.
Well, and we've talked about the analogy from Dogma before, that the late great Professor Snape gives in that movie. He talks about how when you're a child, your cup is super small, so it's really easy. And this is in relation to faith.
Yeah,
it's like super small, so it's really easy to fill it up with faith. But then as you grow, your cup grows, so it's harder and harder to fill that cup. But I think like your tolerance for these pieces of you that you carry, and in essence, your tolerance to deal with the bullshit that triggers that piece, right?
Yeah.
Is as much, it's less empty, or it's less full when you're younger, right? And so like it's still filling up at that point, and then you get to an adult, and now it's you filled it up because you just tolerated shit, or you put up with it, or you made excuses for it, or you hid it, or like HID it, or any of those things. And maybe you spent like a sizable amount of time like trying to cut it off, that piece of you, like to get rid of it. And it's like, you can't cut your foot off. You can't, or you wouldn't cut your foot off. You wouldn't cut your thumbs off. I think that's piece of it too, is like once you filled up that tolerance, then you're like, okay, now I just need to get rid of this. This thing is wrong with me. So how do I get rid of it? And then that's, I think, contributes to the frustration, because you spend this sizable amount of time trying to get rid of it, when really, again, it's a piece of you. You wouldn't cut your hand off if you burned your finger. You don't cut your hand off, right? Like literally, you don't cut off your nose to spite your face, right? So you spend that time trying to cut this piece of you away because it's bothering you finally. And that's where then you finally get to the point where you're just like, wait a second, this is just me. How can I deal with this piece of me and not lose everything else? And it sounds like that's the path that you're on.
Yeah. It's very helpful of everything you said. And it's also, it rings true to what I was saying to her about that idea of that, I don't know. It's like part of me wants to hear that. Part of me needs to hear that idea that I am enough and that I'm doing enough. But that's, just to say it out loud sounds, I don't like it. And I told her too, I was like, I got a lot of things I want to do, and I have creative pursuits and stuff that literally keep me up at night. But there's some nights that I have to, like, I need that piece of me for that to get me off the couch and over to work on my stuff. So yeah, finding a balance of all that is, I guess, it's what I'm working on, but it's,
yeah.
But it's a little bit weird catch-22, because I do like to have something to work on. I'm glad there's something I can do, but the work that needs to be done, I don't know. feels, talk therapy and all that kind of stuff can feel like your scab's starting to heal, and then you go back in 2 weeks and rip it open again. So it's trying to find that balance.
Well, if you're
making sure it's all helping.
here's my last analogy for this, and then we can move on. But if you pick scabs, even if you rip the scab off every 2 weeks, it gets smaller every time. So.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were going to say you pick scabs off, you get scars.
No,
but I like that.
Yeah, they get. Well, I mean, you're going to get a scar regardless. Even if you leave it alone, you're going to get a scar. Like.
Yeah.
So don't think of it like a scar, but just remember, every time you pick a scab, it's smaller every time, right? So,
yeah. And the thing when you were talking about that filling up, it feels too like there's anchors to all those things filling it up, like that build up over time. Like it's not just the volume; it has all this like baggage and weight to it.
And I think
it's harder to.
That's true because when you're younger, you just don't see those tethers. You don't see you're not making that connection. You're just trying to fucking survive. I'm just thinking of my 20s where it's just like I don't know if it was this like subconscious understanding that this is a finite amount of my life. Like this period where I'm like an adult, but I have very limited responsibilities and I can still do whatever the fuck I want. But there's a point where where it's just like, I'm just trying to do as much as I can in this limited amount of time. And so it's really hard to see those anchors and those ties that are coming with all that shit. Cause you're just trying to go, and
yeah. Well, and so much of it, like I said, I know it's necessary, but it feels a little wrong. Like the way that you need to like focus on yourself. And I don't know if it's our culture or my particular upbringing that feels like I'm taking the wrong way out or
no, you got to grow. You got to.
Maggie just made a crazy noise. I just need to make sure she's not hurt. I'm so sorry.
Oh no,
it was a bad noise. So let me check.
Go check. She's making it again. I can hear it. Everything okay?
Sorry, everything was fine. The bride just got home, and
okay.
You think, but they were weird sounds. I'm sorry.
No, those were weird. I heard them over, like they came through through the sliding glass door, through your house, through the sliding glass door, over the microphone, and the gate let them through. Like I heard those noises. Like that's how crazy they were. So.
Well, yeah, so everything is fine. She's just, I guess, like, why weren't you here? I guess to the bride. Bride was getting an honor from one of her, well, I don't know, but how to contextualize it. Anyway, I'm glad this is covered on my insurance. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that being said, you want to open a beverage of choice and then start getting into like fun shit?
Absolutely. I may have opened.
Like, huh?
I may have already opened.
Oh, that's all right. And then
I have sufficient beverages, but they are larger, so I'm portion controlling myself. But I think it's best I not open the other one, so I will. I'll participate.
Just do it in spirit.
Yeah.
On 3 and 3. Yep. I made the noise and opened a beverage and. Cheers, long walkers, to your beverage of choice.
Thank you, Palmer. I don't know. I guess that was all pretty close to the surface. So that was, but you said a lot of helpful things for me.
Well, good. What's terrible is I'm a fucking basket case. Just like an emotional basket case. But there is something in, I
you really rise to the occasion though when
I know
I've come to you with the problem. I'm like, where does this fucking wisdom reside, and how can I get some?
That's the other thing too is like, why can't
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Well, I find I really get something from helping. Maybe to a fault.
No, I don't think that's true. I have read some of books on addiction this year, and they said actually a huge part of that process is helping.
Yeah,
like that is like integral to your own help. In those capacities. So maybe there's something to that.
Well,
but I also, in going to therapy and stuff, they talk about sometimes one of the tactics that they'll take, or even self-help things that I've read, it's like, if you think about like how whatever you're saying to yourself or whatever, like, would you say that to like your best friend or to someone else? Just imagine it's anyone else but you. And so I think in a way, maybe that's what it helps unlock that for you, to where you're not saying that to yourself. So you're able to like, you know, get past whatever that is. I don't know, whatever it is. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and you can see like, you spend so much time in your head trying to solve your own problems, right? It's like that I love the saying, new eye see fresh, where if you like, if you have a problem, the best thing sometimes that you can do is just go to somebody that's not associated with it at all, present the problem, and just get their fresh perspective on it, because maybe you're just too close to it. And I think in helping people, you get a chance to do that, and you end up finding that a lot of problems people have, at the root of it, they're all kind of like the same, like, I'm just using an arbitrary number, but it's all roots back to maybe like the same 5 things, right? Yeah, and so if you can just like, if you can see that problem and just talk it through like somebody else's problem, you're going to end up being like, holy shit, that's exactly like the same fucking thing that I'm dealing with. Yeah, you know, and so it does. I think there is something to that about visualizing your problem with somebody else. How would you help somebody else with your problem? That's a great, again, it's like, it's just tools. That's really, sometimes I feel like all we need is we just don't know how to deal with what the fuck's going on. So just, however you can find those tools to do that.
There was this one tool at work that I found really helpful, even in like points of crisis, because a little bit it's like how to deal with a situation. And I think I talked about it before, but it's like a 4-stage thing though. And I had to employ it recently for the first time after they said like, okay, next time something happens like this, let's do this, where you're like, what is the situation? What is the behavior? What is the result? What do we want to do different next time? Sounds really simple. I can make it really complicated, but I did that for this one thing, and it actually really helped. By the time I got to the last thing, I was like, oh, okay. It didn't make me feel any like less mad about this, that, or the other, but I'm like, if I just focus on this last step, I actually got to this last step because of these other 3. So that was like, I felt really good about it. I was like, this is a useful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and with time, what happens is you start to recognize useful tools, and you start to recognize ones that don't work. And then you get really good at using the ones that do, and just kind of brushing off the ones that don't. So
research your own experience, absorb what is useful, ignore what is not useful, and add what is essentially your own.
Yeah.
Or Palmer.
Yeah. That's it. See? Shit. All right. Let's fucking get to good. Let's get to some good shit.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I feel much better.
I don't know what we're going to end up talking the most about. I feel like there's a lot of Stephen King stuff to talk about. So last episode we had Ash on. We talked about A Quiet Place and Black Klansman. 2 fucking fantastic movies. Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't. We spoil the shit out of those movies. Just fair warning, especially with A Quiet Place, just because it's a scary movie. Go fucking see that great movie and then come listen to us talk about it. Go back and listen to us talk about it. But at the end of that, we kind of we had talked about how we didn't really get to a King Corner in a couple episodes. And we have a lot of King stuff that has cropped up since not being able to for an outlet for it, that we wanted to try to kind of focus on. So since that we recorded that episode, we binged all the episodes of Castle Rock.
You did? Okay, I was going to ask, but I didn't want to pressure you in case you hadn't. I'm so glad you did. I have too.
I binged all the episodes of the Footnote, the Castle Rock podcast.
Oh, cool.
I went through all of those. And that one's a really easy podcast. It's only like a half hour long per episode. It has a very rigid structure that he stuck to for all 10 episodes. You know, the 2 creators, then a guest, then a lightning round where he just tries to get spoilers out. I told Ash that for season 2, I really want to listen to that podcast right after the episodes come out, because it really is designed. If you are going to go to, after our conversation tonight, if you're going to go to those 2 things, I highly recommend, especially if you're into podcasts and you want to do the podcast along with the show, like watch an episode of the show, then listen, like just devote a half an hour to that show's episode of the podcast, because they really work well with each other.
Yeah. That last one for episode 10, Romans.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, they laid out so much in that one of like what they were going for and stuff that really spoke to me. And I was like writing notes, but I took down like half the thing. And then the Easter eggs, they laid all of those out. Yep. I was like, this is a fucking goldmine of a half hour.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's not all of them. There's way too many there's so much fucking shit in that show. Just like, oh,
I gotta take my sweatshirt off.
Like,
we're gonna talk Stephen King.
Chastise fans, like he's like, don't stop looking for Stephen King Easter eggs. Like, just let the show be the show. It's so fucking hard. It takes place in your fictitious town that you created just to be able to tell stories. Like, yeah, man. All right. Well, we're getting ahead. So I've consumed in the last 2 weeks since we recorded, I've consumed so much media. I don't know where to begin.
Oh, that's exciting.
I watched all 3 seasons of Rick and Morty.
What?
I know.
You should text Krams.
I did. And I
was
you
did? Of course you did.
I texted him. I'm like, you were right about everything. Like, Rick and Morty is totally where it's at. Like, that might be. It might be. I don't have any problem saying this. It's easily in the top 5 most intelligent television shows I've ever watched.
Whoa! Oh my God! I'm so glad to hear that.
It's so, like, Ash even said, because she's like, "Do you think I would like that show?" I was like, "Absolutely not." And she's like, I was like, "Why do you say that?" And she's like, "You have," because she'd be doing something in the house, and I would just have an episode on. She's like, "I heard you laugh, like full belly laugh out loud more times in the week that you've been watching this show than you have in the last 6 months." It just like, she's like, it hits, and it totally does. It struck this chord with me. It's just super smart and super intelligent. And oh my gosh. For season 2, Moto, yeah, for Mr. Mercedes, I gotta see it. I
looked. It's not available, so we can get DVDs of season 1, but it's not available on streaming that I could find.
See, like, they get you committed to streaming and then have shit's not on there. What the fuck? I'm committed. Like, I'm on like.
Well, because now they're selling the services.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Like the individual channel services. So you're going to end up having cable anyways, because you're going to buy the streaming for each of those channels.
Yeah, you'll spend as much, but just to collect and aggregate all the fucking things.
Fucking, like, now I'm going to go to Time Warner just to go back to Time Warner just to save money on streaming. Like, that's like where it was the other way before.
Oh yeah, because this is ultimately a cable centric service, or
what's that?
I'm sure there's some what is it? Moto can tell us whatever it's some sort of, I can't think of the name of the service. There's got to be some kind of online equivalent, but satellite, or it's through satellite. It is much more tied to cable, I guess, than most of these things seem to be.
Oh, there's like Sling TV is like that, and there is a direct TV version. Yeah, it's all stupid. It's just like just give us the
audience
fucking
network.
Yeah, there you go. Like, just give us the fucking media. You know, like, you want to tack commercials on the beginning and end of it? Put them on there. I don't care. Just make it available, and so we can watch it whenever we want to watch it. Like,
I'm checking to see if it's on iTunes. Sometimes, like, you can get stuff on iTunes episodically. It annoys me, but at least it's an option.
So,
but yeah. So I'm very cool about Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. So
now we should
Castle
have
Rock,
back.
Rick and Morty. I binged this past weekend. I binged the entire second season of Stranger Things. Ash and I started it, and then we never made it all the way through. And then it had been so long that I just started it over because I didn't remember You know, that like those shows that are made for streaming, they give no shits about like catching you up from episode to episode. So like it's just basically a 9 hour long movie.
Yeah.
And so I just started it over, and Jesus fucking Christ, like that was fantastic. Like I know people had mixed reviews about that too. I don't know what they're mixed about. That was fucking great. Like the end of that, I was like weeping. It was so like awesome and upbeat, and goddamn am I in love with Steve. Like he's just such like
That was a great choice they made with that character.
yes. I mean, because he could have just been a douche the whole time, right? Like still been a douche for them. But like him and Dustin, like I saw,
I couldn't get enough of that.
I know, and I saw this photo of them on a red carpet, and they're like buddies in real life, like in like, or at least this photo makes it look that way. And like he's giving him the hair tips, and he like they're in when they're in the car, and he's like just don't even care, and like I'm not gonna care, and like. And he's like, listen, you look he's giving him like that pep talk, like you look fantastic, like you look good. Just go out there and just do your thing. Like,
Moto just did you see that? So YouTube has this great thing now where they will hold comments. Remember how we used to get trolled?
oh
They'll
yeah,
hold those now. And so I just approved it so we could see Moto say in Joe Pesci Lethal Weapon fashion, they fuck you with the streaming. First they sell you, then they fuck you. They know you're gonna be miles away before you find out you got fucked.
you son of a bitch,
You dumb son of a bitch. Good call, Moto.
oh man. So and then last Thursday I had possibly, this is my Palmer's pleasure, I'm just going to go for it.
Ooh. Palmer's pleasure.
Yeah. I had one of the best movie going experience that I've had in such a long time. So I teased this. I teased it on our text thread, our private text thread, and then I modified that text to a tease on onto Reddit. Earlier this summer, I had tweeted out a trailer to a movie called Mandy, Mandy. And all I saw, and the reason I tweeted it out was this is the movie that's going to revive Nicolas Cage's career. That's what everybody like. That was the only blurb that came with this trailer. And then you watch the trailer, and it's fucking mind melting. Like you don't get it. Well, unbeknownst to me, there was a limited screening last Thursday. I just happened to like I saw it blurb across the algorithm. That's just what I'm going to refer to as that creepy internet thing that kind of picks up what you do and feeds shit to you. So the algorithm had was all of a sudden all my ads, the limited amount of ads that still pop up to me, they were all like opening this week, Mandy, opening this week, Mandy, and so then I got on and saw it wasn't playing at any of my normal theaters that I go to, but I did find it at a Regal. There was one showtime on Thursday listed, and it was kind of a fluke, and I'm so glad that I did it. I almost didn't do it. But I was like, I just told Ash, I was like, I got to go see this movie. The trailer, it was that intriguing to me. And I went and saw this movie, and it was so amazing. And I came home and I told Ash, I was like, this movie is so good, but I can't think of one person that I could recommend it to. Like, it's just like every person that I would think like, oh, I could tell them about it. Then I'm like, oh no, but there's that one thing in there that if they saw that, like they would not like it. and like every person I was like, oh, if I could just maybe this no, there's that one thing. So now in a week I've racked my brain and I've only come up with 2 people that I have thought I could recommend this movie to. One of them was my nephew, who I didn't recommend it because he doesn't go see movies. And the other one was Dr. Pumps Russell. Like, and I hope he didn't, if he ever watches that movie and he ever hears me saying this, I hope he doesn't get offended by that. But I sent him the trailer and was just like, if this is playing anywhere near you, you should see it because I think you would like it. And I'm sure that you would like it. I'm sure, if Twinkie saw it, he would like it. There's just, it's directed by the same guy that directed on episode 7. We talked about a little movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow. And this guy's name is
Panos Cosmatos,
right?
Yeah.
And Beyond the Black Rainbow is and Dave, you watched that one. It's kind of a hard sell.
Well, it's a great sell. It's a little bit more of a difficult movie to watch or to appreciate fully. But I did like it. I'm really glad. That was the movie that you sold to me as the movie that this guy made based on having seen the cover art for video boxes, what he thought they might be about.
Yeah, he was very restricted in what he was allowed to watch.
Yeah.
But he went to the video store, and so and movie boxes are something that we've talked about over and over again on our podcast. And that was the entrance point to that movie, was because that's what he talked about. He's like, I always wanted to make the movie that I thought was behind those boxes. And I'm totally paraphrasing that. And Mandy is his follow-up to that. And I found out because at the end of that, they tagged on, I don't think it was live, but they tagged on a 30-minute Q&A with Panos, Nick Cage, Linus Roche, hosted by Kevin fucking Smith.
What?
So after I got to see this amazing movie, I got to sit through this 33-minute Q&A where Kevin Smith is just like drilling them with questions and them talking about the movie. And
I bet there was a 30-minute intro from Kevin Smith prior to that.
Actually, there's not. So that's what I have queued up.
Great.
So
yeah, because I want to watch the trailer. I remember you sending the trailer quite a while back, and I was like, this is a fucking long walk short drink movie if ever there was one.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I don't think you had realized that it was the follow-up director for Beyond the Black Rainbow.
I did not. And I think it says it in the trailer, like from the visionary director of Beyond the Black Rainbow. There's like a quick blurb of that, maybe. But what really caught my eye when I first sent out that trailer was just, this is the movie that's going to bring Nick Cage's career back, which, and some would argue, like, bring it back from, like, what do you mean bring it back? He's always been Nick Cage. And honestly,
you can count on him being Nick Cage. Nick Cage is fucking this, though, it looks like.
Oh man, like, I can't remember the last Nick Cage movie that I saw. Like, I'm on here right now just trying to look back. As far as, like, if you were going, Trust, Pay the Ghost, The Runner.
I probably saw Bad Lieutenant 2, but I don't remember it really well. And that was probably 5 years ago.
Ghost Rider, maybe. I saw no. Yeah, I think. Oh, I did see Sorcerer's Apprentice. I really like that. Kick-Ass.
That tickled me so much. Oh yeah, what a great use of him in that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, but there's literally, like, I just scrolled through 30 movies to get back to that I just haven't seen, right, on his IMDb page. And so, man, Ash is making something that smells fantastic. Let me bring the trailer up. We'll watch the trailer first.
Now this is exciting.
Wrong keyboard. But then I have queued up kind of like it's basically the director's take on what he was trying to make. So from that Q&A. Now the Q&A that I got to see was like it was shot really well, like head on. This is like somebody recording it with their cell phone in the audience of that Q&A, so it's like off to the side. But we'll watch the trailer first. Like smoking, he smokes through the whole thing.
Oh, I've been thinking a lot about Wild at Heart recently, and this is very reminiscent of that so far.
The wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Strange and eternal.
I need you to get me that girl I saw. You know what to do. You're a special one, Mandy. I, too, am a special one. Let us be.
That shot is probably one of the best shots I've ever seen in a movie.
So what you gonna do with that thing? I'm going hunting. So what you hunting?
That's the guy from The Predator, by the way.
You think you're so in love? I'll show you love. Oh, man. What's wrong with you? You exude the cosmic darkness.
It glowed from within, strange and eternal.
And soon. That's how it ends, is soon. That, I'm going to tell you right now, makes me want to watch it. Like I almost need to see it again now. Like it's it's so fucking good. So let's
And it's available.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so it's so crazy that, I mean, it's not crazy that we're talking about it, but what is crazy is the bride brought it up over the weekend. We were considering watching something together, and she had heard about it from and then she's like, let me look at this. And then she like looked into it for like 30 seconds. She was like, no, this is not for me. But I was like,
don't let her
available?
watch it. Don't let her watch it. Like, you got to watch it by yourself.
She won't, but I will. I'm a little scared of it, but I'm excited to see it.
Well, maybe this will help sell it more. So let me jump over to this Q&A, and so you can kind of hear.
I'm scared in a good way. Like it looks amazing.
It's so good. So here it's going to start with Kevin Smith asking a question, and then Panos kind of responds to that. And this is where it really, if everything else like that, we've already done an episode on his other movie. It's got Nick Cage being this like hyper realistic version of Nicolas Cage as a logger from 1983, you know, and like,
is that what it is?
yeah,
oh, wow.
he's a logger, and he drives a 78 Bronco and like super fast at all times, and like forges a fucking axe to go hunt these people with. Like, Jesus, it's so awesome. Like there's so much to it, and it's one of those that like every time you watch it, you're going to see something different because there's so much crammed into this little. It's not super long. It says it's how long does it say on here? Doesn't IMDb usually have a length on it? Oh yeah, 2 hour 1 minute. So it's not terribly long in today's standards. You know, like usually movies are going 2.5 hours even. But it's so fucking good. But let's hear right from the director, and then I'll come back and we'll wrap this up, and then we can go on something else.
Feelings that I was dealing with,
When I sit there and watch this flick, number one, I'm ashamed to also call myself a filmmaker because I'm like, that's fucking filmmaking. Like, as I watched it and as I pulled apart the color palette, everything about it seemed so precise, seemed like such a choice. And I know that it's a job of choices, but I look at your work and I'm like, wow, he made all the right choices. How do you communicate something like this? Like, we got to see it, so we're like, oh, fuck. How do you communicate something like this to people when it doesn't exist?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's because the way that it's created to begin with is like a very iterative process. It's not just like, I'm like, oh, I want to tell a story about a logger who goes on a killing spree to avenge his loved one. It's like I love.
Wait, is that what that was
about? It's like I love revenge movies. I'm interested by how they make me feel, and so I'm going to start writing a revenge movie, and then I just start building like a catalog of images and songs and thoughts, and it starts to build that way, like this weird iterative kind of like almost more like kind of like mashing a sculpture together from pieces of clay and weird things you find, instead of sort of starting from the thought of I'm going to tell a story and then sitting down at the typewriter and writing. It's a very iterative, it's a very visually and sonically based process that sort of evolves over time.
That sounds like art. Let me ask you this, man. When you have a script for Mandy, is it, well, I guess I should ask them more than you, but is it evident on the page, like what we saw? When you guys both first saw the script, were you like, oh, I got it down cold? Or did you have to have it explained to you, or like, this is the vision? We'll start with you, Lance.
To be frank, I didn't get it. First time I read it, I was like, I have no frame of reference for this. I don't know what it is.
But you were a Chronicles of Riddick.
But true, guilty as charged. Yeah.
That's a great place to end it right there. Because he's bitching about how he didn't get it, and then if you didn't catch the joke, because it's here, they're like laughing over it. But he's like, but you were in Chronicles of Riddick, which if you've seen Chronicles of Riddick, that one is on the first go. It's a little hard to understand what's going on.
I was trying to think what I knew that guy from, and I realized, like, to me, he's Bruce Wayne's dad.
Yeah, I guess he was in this last season of Homeland. If you watch Homeland,
oh, I had, but not that. We stopped watching it, so I hadn't seen him in that.
So he's really big in he's been stealing the show in Homeland, I guess. Let me see what else he's been in, because he is very recognizable.
In a way, like, I didn't recognize him in the trailer, though. There were times when, like, I'm guessing her name is Mandy, the actress that would have played that, was shown, and then this guy seems to be the villain. Like, there was a minute where there was that shot of him straight on. I thought maybe it was her at first.
That's what I was saying. That it's one of the best shots I've ever seen in a movie, or one of the best shots I've seen in a movie in a long time. Where that's all during an acid trip. I don't want to spoil too much because I know you'll watch it and really like it.
I'm gonna watch it.
But like, he plays this cult leader of this like acid burnout Christian cult, basically, and he's the leader of them. And that happens during an acid trip with Mandy and him and the other members of this cult. And to visualize that tripping, they fade back and forth between, it's the same shot, her face and his face.
Oh, wow.
And it slowly, like you're breathing like super slow, it slowly just turns into her, and then slowly starts to like, is that her or is that him? And then it's like, oh, it's him. And then it's like, wait, is it her or is it? It's like you're tripping as an audience member. It's so well done that you question, and it's happening so slowly. And the like, to take the time as a filmmaker to be like, I'm going to put 4 minutes of film, which I know it's not really film probably, but like for 4 minutes of my 2-hour long movie, I'm going to slowly fade these superimpositions back and forth to the point that as an audience member, the whole time you're like, is that her or him? Oh, it's her. Oh, wait, no. Is it her or him? No, it's him. Wait, is it her or him? Oh, it's her. And that happens like 3 or 4 times before you realize they're fucking with me. Like, he is fucking with me. Like, it's so well, that shot is so well done that it literally made me feel like I had dropped a blotter acid before, a tab of blotter acid before I went into the movie. Like, it's so, and I've never done acid before, and I mean, that's the truth. I've never done acid before, but that's what it felt like. That's what I would imagine it would feel like. So when Kevin Smith is kind of like gushing about how like this is art and that, like, I thought I made films until I saw, like, I don't know if that was in the part that but he,
yeah, he said that toward the beginning.
When he first starts that Q&A, he's like, it's so great to like be standing in front of an audience that just watched a movie that they like. That
was not part of it.
Yeah. But he kind of, like, Kevin Smith kind of gushes over this, and rightfully so. Like, when he says that line, like, I know that filmmaking is a craft of choices, but when I watch this, I feel like you made all the right choices. Man, is it Beyond the Black Rainbow is really good for a certain type of person who likes movies, right? And I feel like for a certain type of if you know, like we came into it, we like that that idea about the box art and everything. But it is a very, like, he talks about it in the first time that Panos talks. He wrote both of those movies at the same time. He wrote Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy at the same time. And he kind of just volleyed back and forth, I guess, between the two, because he said, like, this is like the antidote to Beyond the Black Rainbow, because Beyond the Black Rainbow was so compressive and so isolated, and, like, you know, that's all about like confined spaces. She's in a cell, and then you realize like the doctor's kind of in his own cell because he's on this compound all the time, and like whereas this one is like open, and there's world building, and it's a fucking revenge flick that's just like, I mean, it's as good as Old Boy in my opinion. Like, it's
wow.
Yeah. Which, when you know, when you realize that's what it is, it's like, yeah, this is a long walk short drink movie all the way through. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. Like, just as much as Kevin Smith was gushing,
so exciting.
I'm gushing. Like, it was so good. And then to get like, so it was a special screening. It's not playing in my area anymore. Like, it was just that one night, that one showtime that it played in my area. It was full of people that were either there because they knew this director, or they knew that this was a special engagement, or they loved Nicolas Cage. So like, they all laughed at the right things, and it was as good as like a midnight screening where it was people there that wanted to be there, instead of like, well, we didn't know what to see, so we're here now, you know. It's just a great movie going experience. And then you got a great movie, and then you got that great, awesome half hour with Kevin Smith asking, which, if you didn't notice, Nick Cage is wearing a gold
I noticed.
blazer.
Leather pants.
Shiny, like almost patent leather pants. Like, they're so shiny. Giant gold rings on his hand, and huge, like, takes up 1/3 of his face sunglasses. And he's of course like 100% Nicolas Cage. All of those questions that he answers from Kevin Smith, which is great.
Yeah, he didn't talk in that clip, but I wanted him. I was hoping that he would.
Yeah,
because he looked a lot like his Sailor Ripley, like from Wild at Heart, where he's just like, the snakeskin jacket is a symbol of my individuality and my
yes, like, and he talks about how he got I will say this piece, like Panos wanted him to play Linus Roche's character, like the leader of the cult,
the villain. I don't know if he's the villain, but he seemed to be. That makes sense too. Yeah.
And he somehow convinced Panos, like when he read it, like, no, I need to play the protagonist, which is so good because even Nicolas Cage is like, I'm so glad that I did that because Linus really stole the show. And Kevin Smith says that, like, that guy as the villain, he is the villain. Jeremiah Sand, isn't that a great villain name? Like,
that's a fantastic villain name.
He is fucking amazing. And the last scene, you'll know it's the last scene. That's not a spoiler, but the last scene, yeah, it's so fucking good. Like, I don't want to spoil anything for you other than if I already haven't, or if I'm already risking that I have, which I hope I haven't. But like I said in my tweet, there's a 78 Bronco, a dick knife, a tiger, something else, all in the same movie. What do they have in common? And it's fucking Mandy. Like, like, God damn, it's so good. I
love that it is the. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm almost like second guessing. Like, I can't think of anybody to suggest this to. Just go fucking see it. I'm going to take that back. Like, go see it. Like, now that I watched the trailer again and that little blurb of the Q&A, I'm just like, fuck it. If you get offended, you get offended. Hopefully you, if you're this far.
Oh, that looks like a movie that is, filled with offensive things.
Yeah.
I think that's not unintentional.
Man, is it so fucking good. There's this.
It looks unhinged. That's what it looks like, to where there's no room for propriety of any kind. It's just like, that's what it seems like anyway.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a berserker, like he's covered in blood and like wielding a chainsaw. I don't know. It's I think offensive is probably an understatement with that movie, but I mean that in to say that I can't wait to see it.
When he is at his rock bottom in the movie, this is no spoiler too. There is a scene that it represents his rock bottom, where he's like, he's faced with the choice of, does he go for revenge or does he not? And it's him coming to terms with all of that. And it takes place in a bathroom. And it's like, the movie takes place in 1984, I think. Again, kind of tying into that movie box idea.
Yeah.
It looks like it was shot in 1984. Like it's got like the texture to it. Like, so it feels a little grainy, like a VHS cassette, almost like Beyond the Black Rainbow did.
Yeah.
But he's in this bathroom that is like pure 1970s, like just oranges and browns, like burnt oranges and browns is like the color palette of this bathroom. And it's just him, a bottle of vodka in his underwear, just like stomping around this little 6 foot by 6 foot bathroom, chugging vodka and pouring it on his wounds and just going, and just like, it's so fucking amazing. Just like in their tiny whitey underwear, and he's just, it's just so good.
Oh, That's what you want. I mean, I don't necessarily want that for Nick Cage as an experience in life, but that's what I want Nick Cage doing for sure in movies.
It's so, again, this is why Panos is so good. It goes beyond the point of being uncomfortable with that happening. And that's all that happens. And it's so long. Like, you're forced to look at that for so long that at first it's absurd. And then you're uncomfortable, and then you feel terrible for this man. Like, oh, man, it's just,
wow.
It's so
it
good.
Sounds like it bridges this or I don't know. I'm just drawing conclusions based on what you've shown us and told us. And what he said, I was very fascinated that he said he wanted to make a revenge movie, and he was fascinated by how revenge movies made him feel.
Yeah.
And between the trailer, and like what you're saying, it seems like it's a combination of something that's like cartoonish over the top, but that at times gets down to like the marrow of the reality of the situation as well. Like the violence of like him contemplating, I guess that.
Yeah.
Where you're deeply unsettled, or is it veer more towards the cartoonish? Which I'm fine with.
No, all of it. It's a spectrum. It's all of it. It's gritty. It's realistic. It is cartoonish. It's a mixed media movie, so there are literal cartoon segments like Kill Bill,
yeah.
But and this is what I thought when I watched it. You know how when you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, he's obsessed with that like 70s era, right? And so
yeah.
Some of his stuff is set in that era, like some of his period pieces, let's say. But they look like a modern retelling, even like his World War II, like Inglourious Bastards. It feels like a modern play of that time period, right? Like in all fantasy, of course, it's fantasy, so that's set aside. But when you're watching it, it's not this. You feel like somebody walked into a video store in 1984 and picked this up as a new release. Like, it looks like it was made in that time period.
that makes me want to watch it right now.
The type of animation that they use is like, have you ever seen Heavy Metal, like the movie the animated movie Heavy
I've never
Metal?
actually seen that. I know of it.
Okay, but
I've
you know
never
that
seen
animation style, that like 80s.
Yeah.
So the animation segments, they're in that style. Like they look like they were animated in 1984. This is the last thing I'll end on. So the soundtrack is very similar to Beyond the Black Rainbows, like a lot of like very synth heavy tones, like just it's very tonal, where there's just like long notes being held like throughout a scene, on a synthesizer. But it was the first time that he had worked with this composer who is, I just had it up.
Johansson?
Yes.
I'm probably saying that wrong.
There's a tragic portion in that man passed away after, I don't know if he committed.
Composer?
Yeah. I don't know if he committed suicide but they bring that up in the interview, and Panos is like, I thought that I had found a kindred spirit in him. When we made this movie, I of course loved everything that he was doing. And again, I'm paraphrasing. I loved everything he was doing, but I was more excited for what we were going to work on next. Like watching our relationship grow. And I'm devastated that I'll never get to work with him again. Like it's heartbreaking. Like Panos is if you watch that Q&A, he is kind of a heartbreaking man. Like you can tell that it's really hard for him to be on that stage. It's really hard for him to be talking about his work to Kevin Smith in front of a crowd of people. Like he says, he's like, I can only watch Beyond the Black Rainbow if I'm by myself in my basement. That's the only way I've been able to watch it. Cause he's so self-conscious of it. And, yeah, I recommend that Q&A. I recommend going and fucking seeing Mandy any way you can. Turn out the lights and just go along for the ride, and just remember, like, just fucking goddamn, is it just so good?
Yeah. It looks like it's available on Amazon Prime, on YouTube, and Google Play for like about $7 or less. So I'll be
it's
digging into that this weekend. I'm excited.
Totally worth the $7. Like, you please, like, call or text me and let me know
Oh yeah.
what you think. I hope I'm not overselling it. I don't think I can though. I don't think I can.
No, it all feels right in line with like seeing the preview of my level of so I'd be in from the preview, but everything that you've told me and then seeing that Q&A and stuff, it all just sort of enhances like what I would hope. So that's kind of great.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, good. Mandy, go see it. Jesus, what a great fucking movie. I hope I didn't spoil anything.
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, all I have to. I'm gonna be looking forward to that amazing shot, and then the
and just like he like chugs a third of the bottle of vodka, and then he pours another third like on open wounds. So he's like the pain from it being in his just chugging, and then the pain from it in his open wounds, and then the pain from what he's dealing with, and you can see him reacting to all of that pain at the same time, and just like I said, it just goes. Panos holds you on that for so long that it's absurd and comical, and then it's uncomfortable, and then it's just heartbreaking. And a lot of directors, especially directors that have only directed one other movie, would not have the wherewithal to know how long they have to hold on that. Or even like less directors would probably be like, well, we're just going to go like this. The first 30 seconds is going to get that like Nicolas Cage absurdity. That's what people are going for. And then like maybe a little more refined or talented director would be like, okay, well, let's hold it for another minute. So then we make people feel uncomfortable. They get that. And then they're going to feel, because then they're feeling something other than like comedy. They know we're going for something more than comedy. But then like Panos is like, okay, I want him to feel bad. Like we need to feel bad for this guy. And so that's where he gets the other minute from, and just, he like just holds your nose in it long enough so that you know how you man. Yeah. He just, Jesus, good shit. I'm so excited to see what this guy makes for his third movie. Like, yeah, so good. So
Nicolas Cage reminds me, like when I think of and hear of stories like that, last time we were talking about Adam Driver and how he's got this uncanny naturalism about him to where sometimes you're like, I wonder how much of that was it just always feels so spontaneous.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage to me feels when he's big like that or where he's given these like opportunities to really shine or where they let him be big or whatever. He makes these big, it's almost like, I feel like I've never been in an acting class, but it feels like acting class type work that I've heard of that by some accounts, and some people would say like it's like quote unquote sort of bad or cheesy or over the top, but there's something about, I don't know if it's just the way that he goes for it so completely, or that people give him license to do that, and see it through to the point to where you get past the big to the genuine portion. I don't know. It's weird. Like I can't think of other people that occupy that space in movies. Like you use we can use his name like as a verb and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it somehow works. It's not just ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty remarkable. So it's like I can kind of envision it in my head in a way already, but I know it sounds like it's going to exceed because he can do that.
Yep.
I lost my hand. I lost my wife. Like he's always so.
Yeah.
It's so much, but it's also so great. And then to have it be ultimately like genuine somewhere underneath all that.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a remarkable guy. Did you know they do a film festival with him called like Cage Fest?
No,
I heard about this last year. I was looking it up a little bit. I'm reading this from the Nerdist. This is it's January of 2017. It says every year in honor of Nicolas Cage's birthday, which is the Austin Alamo Draft House has held a 5-ish movie marathon dubbed Caged, never revealing the films in advance. And never, so they show his movies and stuff. And last year he showed up.
Fuck.
And he loves Edgar Allan Poe, and he read The Telltale Heart aloud. And it takes like 12 minutes. It's on. It's online. It's on. I'm gonna send you this Nerdist thing. It's probably too long for us to watch together and stuff. But you should see it. And I heard it. I heard it on something. The end, because I don't know if you're familiar with that story, but like that's the story where there's like there's a buried body essentially in the
hears
guilt.
the heartbeat.
Yeah. So by the end, like the narrator's built up to this fever pitch, and then you got Nicolas Cage reading it, and he's wearing not something too dissimilar from what he was in that
He likes
Q&A.
his jackets.
Yeah, and sunglasses, and by the end, he's just like screaming about the heart. It's incredible.
I can't wait to watch that. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, why did I stop watching Nicolas? Like, when did Nicolas Cage become like a joke?
We all know.
Like,
I don't know when, but definitely did.
The bees from the Wicker Man. That's the thing I like. That really got memed. Have you seen that?
I've heard of The Wicker Man. Like, I guess it's a 70s movie that has a lot of music in it, and that's very well revered, and his is less so. His remake.
Yeah. So let me see if I can find that, because that one should be quick.
I'm noticing when I just Googled Mandy, there's one thing from like an hour ago from MovieWeb that says Nicolas Cage thinks Cage Rage memes are hurting his new movie Mandy.
Yeah, so in my exposure to the internet and their ability to memify pretty much anything, like, and you never know what's going to become memified and what's going to blow up, but I can trace back to this scene from The Wicker Man that really kicked it off. And then I remember somebody as a prank. This was a while ago too. Somebody in their family had hated Nicolas Cage. So while they were away on vacation, the person house sitting had printed out all these different stickers, different size stickers of Nicolas Cage's face, and replaced the face, like just stuck these stickers on photos for people's faces everywhere. So like you open cupboards, there was Nick Cage's face, and it just blew up into I think that just, those are the two things that I remember first of that. I guess if that's what the term we're going to call it is Cage Rage, but it's not just rage, because it's always like, it's that photo of him where he's like, he's got that, that look you know what I'm talking about? Like,
I'm not sure I do, but it's big. Like he goes big.
Yeah. And, well, here, let's be sure. This will be
Jesus Christ. It was like what, 22 years ago that Leaving Las Vegas came out, and did he win the Oscar for that?
I think he
might
won.
have.
I don't want to speak too soon because I'm I'm pretty sure he did, though. I know Elizabeth Shue did. I know he was at least nominated for that movie, and that was like, I feel like that was like the peak of his like critical credibility.
Yeah. He was not like funny in that, not in a way that people would make fun of.
Yeah, I think they try sometimes, but
I remember just before that too. Honeymoon in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I think this is just after, so like you can tell in Wild at Heart he's doing a big like Elvis kick. And in Honeymoon in Vegas there's a lot of like Elvis stuff, and Sarah Jessica Parker in the most amazing white dress. Like fucking look that movie up for just that dress. But there's this moment in that I was so deeply amused by at the time that I used to rewind. In VCRs you could hit rewind on some models and it would just go back a few seconds.
Yeah.
So I would do that, and he was talking to Nicolas Cage. He wore this like blue suit. I wonder if I used to have that on VHS for the longest time. Oh, I probably got rid of it. See? Fuck. Anyway, but he was like saying this thing. He was going like, he's saying what could happen if she does this, that, or the other. And he's talking normally, saying this could happen, and then you're going to end up with these people. And believe me, they will drug you. I used to rewind it endlessly. It was like so incongruous with the rest of the movie that he just suddenly flips out. So, I hope that's memed.
My Nick Cage growing up was Raising Arizona Nick Cage.
Oh yeah. I came to that later, but that's prime.
and in my opinion, Holly Hunter is more modern Nick Cage than Nick Cage is in that movie. Yeah. But
she's like talking in the car with him, and then she's like, that in like that moment, she's like talking, and then she goes, I love him so much.
Yes, yeah. And my family loved Raising Arizona, which is funny because like, you know, Coen movies are lost on them now, but like we all loved Raising Arizona. But that was my Nick Cage. And then of course like the Rock and Con Air. I fucking hate Con Air.
The thing that amuses me about Con Air so much is that it came out like 2 or 3 years after Hard Target with Van Damme, which was John Woo's first movie.
Yeah.
And literally, I think I sent it to the cast thread one time, so I'll find it and retweet it. But it's the same. Like, they dressed Nicolas Cage's wardrobe and hair are the exact same as Jean-Claude Van Damme's in Hard Target, which is a weird, like, long-haired mullet thing with a strapped shirt and jeans and hiking boots, and then there's at one point there's the same shot of him running away from an exploding helicopter.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah. Well, this is in my opinion, this is the scene I think that contributed to this Cage Rage internet sensation that Nick Cage has become. I sure as hell hope it's not hurting Mandy. I can't imagine anything hurting this movie if they would just give it a wide release, and just I think it could easily become like a sleeper hit in some way where it would just like it would slowly creep up over time. I would go see it. I've checked for theaters in my area playing it so I could go see it again. That's how. And now that I know I could get it on one of those streaming services, I might rent it just to be able to watch it again. It's that good. But let me play this. This is the B scene from The Wicker Man.
Nice.
Which is, when you see it, you'll understand like how I think this is what caused the Rage Cage. Yeah.
Rage Cage.
Bitches! You bitches! This is murder! Murder! You'll all be guilty! And you're doing it for nothing! Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey!
But I know it will.
How can it? I'm not one of you! I don't believe in your God! I don't believe in sacrifice!
Oh. I didn't know about the knee breaking. I'm just going for the bees.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
There's bees coming.
Here they come.
Oh, yeah. No, stop moving! Ah!
Oh, those men are nihilists, Donnie.
What is it? What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Open up my eyes! My eyes! Ah! Ah!
Okay, that's enough.
Oh, that's such like. See, that's what happens if you go big like that. You're at the mercy of the director fucking you.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have. They didn't have to include him. Like I'm sure there's ways in which that could be helpful. You know, like saying, so you know what's happening, my eyes and stuff.
Yeah,
I
and
did
they're
him
like
wrong.
CGI Bs. That's the other.
Yeah.
Like they're like it's bad computer graphics and
He narrated that whole thing though,
yeah,
and they let him. That was probably the problem.
yeah. Oh,
Moto was saying Nick Cage, one of the greatest actors of our time, which was something that was a joke, Yojimbo joke. Well, I don't think he meant it to be a joke at the time. maybe. Ooh, hit my teeth on the mic. Maybe he did. I remember it was about Ghost Rider though.
and Lost Highway. I haven't seen Lost Highway.
Oh yeah, that's a cool one. David Lynch movie. That's a movie I think I saw at midnight in my late teens, like when I first could go to midnight movies. It's a perfect midnight movie. I think I saw it. So there's Montrose and the other side, General Cinemas. I saw it at the General Cinema.
One of those is
Finally
shut down now. There's only one now.
That's sad. That was such a fun dynamic, like growing up and being able to get your license and being able to go up there and take
between
your
the two of them, everything would play because they
Yeah,
wouldn't have the same
everything
thing,
wide
and
release,
So
yeah.
like you could see anything that was out.
yeah. I liked the experience. Well, they were different, but I had a definite fondness for General Cinemas. But yeah, Lost Highway is a cool, like, creepy Lynch film.
Speaking of Lynch, I read this thing on Reddit that said he created these webisodes that they're animated and they're about moths or something, but psychologists use them to create existential panic in subjects. Like they will show these to people to get an existential response out of them. Like,
Wow.
I mean, man, that guy knows something about the brain and knows how to trigger. And I feel like he's one of those people that's just trying to process how he deals with the world through his filmmaking. But yeah, guy's fucked up.
Yeah, I've actually been. I've spent the better part of this entire year in Twin Peaks, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And I just started his.
The revival of that, you mean, right? Like,
Well, I started with the revival, and then I went back to the beginning, to this like expansive box set that they put out that included then this thing they called the missing pieces. So once I finish a few things, I'll definitely make it like a point of talking more about it. But I just started his memoir that I definitely will talk tons about once I finished it, but it's very cool. It's called Room to Dream, and I'm listening to the audiobook and I have the physical book, and both are great. That'll be a Dave's Digs down the line, but maybe we take a short break and then I'll come back and give my current obsession.
Yep. And see Mandy. Let's wrap that up.
Oh, yes, please.
Fucking go see Mandy. Just any way you can
Yeah.
see it, go see it. I'm going to retract I only know 2 people to recommend this to. Fuck it. If you don't like it, then just go watch something else, but go see this, support this movie, this small movie from an amazing director and amazing actor who
Greatest actor of our time.
yeah. And the second greatest actor of our time, because
I mean, maybe one of them though. I don't know. There's something special about that guy.
Is amazing. So in it as well. So yeah. But no, I have to piss too. So let's go piss and we'll come back and take it from there.
There's Tank.
Oh, Tank has to go to bed.
All right. So yeah, we'll be back.
So cruise me, baby, on. And the rain sets in. It's the angel man. I'm deranged. Cruise me, baby. This was the
work is really fucking hard in this format, let me tell you.
Yeah, you can't see him.
Yeah. But normally when I do any kind of crowd work like that after a piss break, we'll instantly lose that new viewer. We didn't lose them, which makes me think that it's a regular. So
much crowd work that I witness is always like, so what do you do for a living?
yeah.
It's always that.
Yeah.
We should ask that, I guess, next time.
So if for some reason you're not a regular, let's just run through these all again before we move on to our Dave's Dig, and then we'll wrap up with our King Corner.
King.
Make sure that you are we could do this too. First, go to audibletrial.com/LWSD. Sign up for your free trial so you can get your free audiobook. If you're having trouble dealing with something, and maybe you need something in your tool bag to help you deal with that, some things that I've gone through this year already that I really like have been The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck or Unfuck Yourself. Both those are pretty good. You want something fun? Not that I'm not saying self-help's not fun. I just finished The Outsider recently, not that long ago, by the latest by Stephen King, read by Will Patton. That's fantastic. I'm sure Moto would recommend the Mercedes trilogy. Dave, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading Room to Dream by David Lynch, and he's got a co-writer whose name escapes me. And I just finished The Running Man, which is also quite good on audio.
Awesome.
Oh, fucking A. Also, I listened to a little hidden gem of the Twin Peaks universe, The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer.
Oh.
You know, the inciting incident of that show is the murder of this teenage girl. At some point in time before the second season, like about 1990, they published a book that was credited. So instead of written by, it's credited as seen by Jennifer Lynch. David Lynch is like she was in her early 20s at the time, and so she wrote what would have been happening in Laura Palmer's life in that time. And in 2017, the actress who plays Laura Palmer, probably in conjunction with the Twin Peaks revival, read the audiobook for that, and it's like a tour de force performance by her.
I love great read audiobooks, especially ones that are that like such a deep dig like that. Like,
yeah.
Oh, is that awesome?
So if you're into the Twin Peaks universe, that's a worthwhile addition to the. I mean, it already existed in print form, but her performance of it really elevates it.
That's awesome. And our second viewer is Broadman. Welcome back, Broadman.
All right.
He's like,
hey.
A guy tries to watch some LWSD, and then three little kids can destroy that plan. Yeah, like kids. And we're not kid friendly. We come on at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Right, like we would be a 10 o'clock show at the best if we were on prime time at all, which not happening.
We'd have to behave a lot more than we do.
Yeah, so totally get it. But so we can finish down our spiel. That is a nice segue, Broadman. Thank you to the rest of the spiel, because if you can't join us live, you can always find these the full recordings. Go on our YouTube page. Dave trims those down. That's what becomes our podcast episodes that you can get via any of your normal avenues of getting podcasts. Google Play Music, the iTunes podcast app, Stitcher. One of our favorite methods, we know it's Moto's favorite method, it's Broadman's favorite method to interact with us, is over at our YouTube page. Regardless of how you get to Long Walk Short Drink, just do us a favor and head over to that YouTube page. Click subscribe, ring the bell. That way you get notified every time we do these live recordings or post our episodes up. But it helps us get to that 100 mark, so that we get our unique URL with Long Walk Short Drink. Do we get to pick what it is, or does it just name it after whatever our channel is? We should name it something fucking crazy. Like, I mean, it should be Long Walk Short Drink, but I don't know, like Nipple Boy, like youtube.com/Nipple Boy.
Yeah, I think we'll get to pick. I mean, you used to get to pick. Yeah. I have a YouTube channel, just youtube.com/David Allman. I even have one for Dreaming Out Loud Records. There was a point at which they just didn't allow it anymore. But in the early days, you could, as long as someone else hadn't taken it, you could grab it.
Yeah. So, but it'd be great if you could subscribe over on our YouTube channel too. So that way, and on any of those things, leave us a comment, leave us a review. All of those little things help. And then last but not least, follow us on Twitter, where usually we try to tease out the things from these episodes, that the media that we reference, and send those out via our Twitter in some way, whether it's a movie trailer for a movie we talk about. We'll definitely be tweeting out the Mandy trailer for sure.
I'll tweet out that thing, the link to Nicolas Cage performing the Telltale Heart, which is incredible.
Yeah. So follow us on Twitter as well at LWSD pod. So yeah, but let's we got a little bit of time left. We got about an hour left, let's say ish. Let's hear Dave's dig for this episode.
Yeah. So my Dave's dig is more of a shout out because I don't know how to dig into it too much because it's music. It's the album by Noah Gundersen called White Noise. I'm holding up the LP for YouTube viewers. It's a nice, handsome. Well, on vinyl, it's a double disc thing that has like a poster. It has kind of old fashioned, like in the 60s. Like if you get old Bob Dylan records, there's stuff written on the back that is not lyrics. It's not necessarily even about the album sometimes. I mean, it is, but in a much more oblique way.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like that. Like it has it has 6 sections, they're calling it, and one is White Noise, which is the name of the album. Then it's like number 2, and then it has chapters, all fit on the back of an LP. It says like the anxiety gospel according to a 20-something. Number 5, crucial tips for highly authentic selfies. Anyway, I don't know. It's kind of odd and interesting. It's not written by the musician, but it somehow fits in with the overall vibe. And then it's got like this poster that on the back, the poster is big. It's got a snake. On the back is like the liner notes and lyrics.
Wow.
So I have a mixed, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with this artist in some respects, but I really appreciate a lot of, like, I think he shares similar sort of, perhaps he also has an internal locus of control. He's 29, which has been infuriating to me, our age difference, for some time now. In fact, when I finished my second album, which I was able to put on vinyl, I kind of held up. I tried to have it remastered. It was already being mastered, which is the last part of the process that Moto's very familiar with and has done plenty of mastering. But like, you take the mixes and then you try to, I don't know, you just try to make it sound sweet and loud. I don't know, you try to bring out all the best things about it to have it sort of stand shoulder to shoulder with the other stuff you might hear, say, on the radio or in your shuffle. That's maybe not the best definition of mastering, but in any event, it was already in that phase. And then I heard Noah Gundersen's Family EP, which is stellar, really great. I'm sure you can find it anywhere you find music. This was like 2011, and I then asked like the mastering engineer. I'd already gotten my master back. I'm like, is there a way you can make it sound more like this? And he's like, well, no, not without like a, kind of starting from the beginning and you incurring all that cost. So I was like, all right, thanks. I mean, he did what he could, I think, quickly. But so I wrote Noah Gundersen a letter at that time, and I was just like, I was kind of one of those things like, you made this great thing, you kind of fucked up my shit. It's irritating how good you are at this. Thanks. Like I sent it to him, and I think I sent him the LP in the mail. I sent him a letter of that sort. And sometimes I just see him, like he's one of these guys, like I see his face, I'm just like, ugh, fuck you. Not necessarily out of jealousy, just like, you just want to punch that face. but he is I was going to say I sound more bitter about it than I am, but that's probably not true.
Oh my gosh, you do want to punch that guy in the face.
Yeah.
Look at his weepy eye. He's got
these kind of like bug eyes, and he's now like doing this like Chris Cornell look with long hair and this goatee.
That's nailed it here. I just said this is. I just typed in Noah Gundersen, and I went to images, and every And
Can you share your screen? I think Moto and Broadman need to see this.
Yeah, like every
That kind of says it all about that part of my feelings about him.
Let me pick me. But like, look at this. Every photo in these top two rows, he's just like, he just has that same look, like that concerned puppy look. Like, what?
Yeah. It is hard not to hate him.
What? What did I do? What? 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 Look here, he's screaming it. What? What? What?
Gotta follow the mouse. This is brilliant. I want to make this one of the opening clips. What?
What? Oh man.
But he makes this like great music, and generally it's this like guy in the guitar, singer, songwriter vibe, which he's really excellent at. And but this new album, White Noise, it actually came out last year, but somehow I just became aware of it. It has a much more sort of complex and interesting band sound. It's a little bit like a combination of any of his earlier material with almost like late 90s Radiohead kind of, but not like in the robot beat boop kind of thing, of more like somewhere between the Bends and OK Computer. And even his voice sometimes sounds a little bit Tom Yorkish with the effects and stuff. I have a real aversion to certain type of affected singing, and his can sound that way, but actually he's one of those guys, if you hear him talk, it makes sense. Like, he's not going to be able to sing differently than you hear. So it helps. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
I don't even know if that's what he sounds like, but that's what he sounds like to me based on that
look. I mean, that's certainly what he looks like. And that's something to overcome. Yeah. Tommy Wiseau is what Moto just kinda. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah. Oh, he's a kid from Seattle. I think he was homeschooled in a very religious family, and then at like 18 he left like home and started to make a go of things at music. His band and a lot of the backing musicians on his previous efforts and stuff are his family. His sister Abby and Rock Band.
Rock Band.
That is so great. It's hard for new listeners. That's tough to explain, but
you're gonna get it's a wrong band.
Oh, the song is progressing. I like that. We're like halfway to a full chorus at this point.
Oh man!
By we, I mean you.
As soon as I write the Cannibalize script, I'll start working on my Wrong Bet song.
This will be like on the radio somewhere, be an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be fun to like fill the Cannibalized with Long Walk Short Drink Easter eggs?
I don't know any other way to do it without having to like beg, borrow, and steal the rights to like any piece of media that we use, unless we make all of the media.
I mean, we've been building a library for years. This will be like our Castle Rock.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
I did have a breakthrough. I don't want to steal. No, because you're doing your thing. But
that's all right. Fuck this kid.
No, but we should spiral back to Cannibalize, because I did have a little bit of a breakthrough on an idea for that. But finish.
Well, I'll put a pin in it only so that what I have been trying to do with the YouTube videos, and I do put it in the SoundCloud and stuff. I don't know. I do jump to segments.
Oh, okay.
So if someone wants to jump to the King Corner at blah 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 blah,
that's good. That's
we don't
nice.
jump around too much.
That is nice to do that. So
yeah. Otherwise, I would just have you.
We'll put a pin. No. I wouldn't do that.
But I'll bring it. I'll bring it back around. But yeah, I don't mind undercutting this guy a little bit because he makes me mad a little bit. But this album, I do. I mean, I like a lot of his music. But this White Noise album, I heard this song called the Sound, which I thought maybe we could. If you look at the spreadsheet, I put the iTunes.
Yep,
it's the iTunes link. I thought maybe that was a good way of sampling a song without getting into it too much. And he's too infuriating looking in the video that exists. I don't want to show that. This song was my in to this album, and to being like, all right, because that's kind of what I have to do with this guy.
Wait, did you say it was on iTunes? Because the only iTunes one you have in there. Oh no, the sound. Yeah, I see it right here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the sound is so hopefully that'll take you like open the app. So you want to do this on the Long Walk Short Drink account if you can.
Yeah,
so as to just play it directly.
I'm there.
Sweet. So this was the song that pulled me into it. Generally, this guy has been like guitar and voice, maybe some slight other kind of the Americana. I hate that expression and that idea, but but he's got this sort of new thing. So the sound is a good description. So this song led me to the album. I think we'll sample this song as maybe like the way out of it. Or the way. No, let's listen to it quick. I'll say a couple more words and we can move on.
So if I just click this little play arrow next to it, it'll just play a sample of the song.
I hope so. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll probably be like 16. Yeah.
Keeping nothing for yourself like a stone cold killer. Now you're passing your people like a ship in the night. Looking to every stranger for a fight. Nothing ever comes if you call it. Choking like a dog on a call. Open up your mouth if you want. Listen for the sound is coming down. Hoping that you like how you living. Relying on the kindness of strangers, you will be forgiven. How many times will you shit on what you're given? How many times do you shut up and listen? Nothing ever comes if you call.
Wow, and they don't do a fade out or anything. It just cuts off.
No, yeah. I mean, that's just how iTunes is. It's like
Yeah.
you can preview anything. And I think it's like an algorithm that chooses the portion of the song. Yeah. But that's pretty representative of like what drew me to check out this this album. And it's representative sort of lyrically and stuff of why I've been attracted to him in the past. But the sound of it, the instrumentation of it, and even just like how much he's singing out and stuff is new, and it was exciting. And yeah, so that song I love, and then the song that comes after it is called Heavy Metals. I pronounce that extra because it's easy to trip over, but also it's funny that came up earlier.
Yeah.
And this whole thing about the sound and music, I definitely have not listened to as much music, and certainly not been turned on to as much new music in a good way in the last few years. So I like that idea. It's like, what? But these two songs, the sound and Heavy Metals, are so powerful for me. Like they just fill me and I get instantly emotional. The Heavy Metals is my favorite, but it's like 5.5 minutes. And part of the way that it works so well is that it has an interesting structure. It doesn't just build, but it does build to something that by the time it gets to it, I listened to it 3 or 4 times today. And every single time, I just got hit like a gut punch and cried. And like for me,
wow.
that's really what it sounds bad. I know we've talked about it before where you're like, I don't want to watch This Is Us and cry and all this, but like,
Yeah.
I heard this thing recently actually on Smodcast that Kevin Smith was talking about something else. He was blowing up this movie called The Last Movie Star with Burt Reynolds. But he was talking somehow through that about a tweet that Michael McKean, the actor comedian, tweeted, was like, music doesn't make you cry, it lets you cry.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and it's like Kevin Smith was talking about this other movie. He's like for people who are like feels junkies like me, he's saying, like, I want this release, and I want to have these feelings. And that's a lot how I feel about art in general, but particularly music. I found more and more over the years that in music, I want to hear and feel my own feelings. In movies, I want to see other people's experience. That's sort of where I'm at, or I've been at. But Yeah, so this Noah Gundersen, White Noise, you can find it everywhere. The song that I'm more obsessed with even than that one is called Heavy Metals. And I thought about reading some of the lyrics. I was looking at them, and they're good, but it's something about the married to the melody is even better. And so I'm going to tweet out this thing and put it on our YouTube page of the videos mentioned on the show, which is a KEXP. I hope I'm getting that right. I think I am, actually. It's a Seattle station. Yeah, I did. They do like an in-studio performance. Basically the first 4 songs of the record, and then one from later in the record, but it's like the first 4 are in order, and then a little bit of an interview where, like we talked about, he's kind of infuriating looking, but here in the interview, I was like, oh, I don't know. One of the things, I think he's trying really hard, like to be as good a person as he can.
Try harder, Noah Gundersen.
Yeah, definitely still try harder, but thanks for trying, and thanks for making this music. I really it has added something significant to my life and my year. And I find that, like, I do get lost in listening to a lot of voices and audiobooks and, you know, podcasts and stuff. And to put on one of these things and then just be like hit with that, like it's the best kind of, like, for me, filled up. It like breaks my heart and fills it all at once, which is my favorite thing. So White Noise, sound, and Heavy Metals. Look it up. And I think he's on tour right now.
I'm in the middle of a Willie Nelson album at work, but I'll add that to my queue to listen to it. So
yeah, it's worthwhile. It may hit you, it may not, but it's hitting me pretty hard lately in the best way. So I thought I'd give it a shout out. So I love the what. I'm gonna think of that forever. When I see his stupid face.
I mean, he's got that.
There's a lot he could do to be less irritating, and he's not doing that.
Concerned puppy look.
Yeah, and the long hair and the stupid goatee. He's also got like sleeves. I don't know. He's, you know, I'm sure. I don't know. I was gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I kind of am. Like I think he's perhaps.
I'm just being
like
an
a lot of.
I don't know anything.
No, me
about
too. I
that
mean,
guy.
like I'm not. Yeah, I have no. I'm just jealous and annoyed at his talent, so I can lash out in this way. I would think that anyway. To be fair, if he didn't have any talent, I'd be like, "Fuck that guy." I'm just petty like that for all kinds of reasons.
That's so awesome. Yeah. Well, anyway. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that we are petty about on this show. So we can add another thing. I mean, there's so many that we can add more.
I actually gave him a shout out a long time ago on the, and I do recommend that because one of my other sort of singer-songwriter favorites is called Joe Pug, and Joe Pug has a monthly podcast called The Working Songwriter, and Noah Gundersen has an episode on that we gave a shout out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by him, like guys like Noah Gundersen, actors like Ethan Hawke, certain people that reminded me of myself, but who infuriate me. And I know they infuriate me because they remind me of myself in the ways that they infuriate me. and that's why I like them, because anyway, I'm a complex guy. Not really. Let's talk about Stephen King.
Yeah. Stephen fucking King. Boop.
Have you heard that one yet? What episode is that where there's an episode. Oh no, it's 51. It's the cannibalized one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it because like no one would necessarily otherwise know. So I give an intro to that, like on I sort of jump on camera, and basically make it like, let's make this a King corner. But I explain what's going on, and at the end, I put in the beep and I do a little bit acting, like I pretend I hear it, and then I look up into the lens and I'm like, honey bunny, come on over here, sugar buns. And that was fun enough, but I don't know what possessed me, but like I channeled Stephen King in that moment, and I did the best. I could never do it again. Like, this machine just called me an asshole. Like, I got the whole nasally thing perfect to where I'm like, Palmer's going to hear this and think that's where I switched over to the recording. But like, that was me. That's one of my proudest moments in life.
I can't wait to get to that.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
51.5. Somehow I pull it off. This machine just called me an asshole.
An asshole.
And then I roll in the music.
Yeah. Oh shit. That's great.
Sorry, that.
Yeah. Fucking awesome. Oh, before we do King, I was thinking, so when I tweeted out the Just Right episode, I tweeted out to talk about Just Right. I tweeted out the episode about what writers can learn about no character arcs, right? Like writing characters with no character arcs. What if, and the argument that he uses in that movie is Paddington, how like Paddington is just pure the entire time. He's positive and pure through both of the Paddington movies, and it's the supporting cast that changes. They have the character arc when usually it's the other way around. What I zeroed in on, I made a statement after we had the cannibalized conversation about how like it's a representation of like mental illness and how your force, because I pictured what would be the protagonist. I kept having this bit of monologue where it's like, what's the worst thing you've ever done? And then think about like, what would it take for you to do something worse than that?
I love the idea of that being voiceover.
You know what I mean? Like
inner monologue.
Yeah. And that's the protagonist where he just keeps doing terrible things to try to like get the cannibal away from him and off of him. Like, sacrificing people and misleading them to leave them almost behind as like as a gift for the cannibal. Like maybe this, like I've left you this, so leave me alone, you know?
Wow.
And like doing all these terrible things and where the character arc for the protagonist, instead of it being a positive arc, it's this negative arc to where at the end you almost want the cannibal to catch him because he's like so like you feel bad for him at first, but then you're just like, he's so terrible and just like, and really like he's the bad person and maybe the cannibal's not, you know? And
I'm sorry to jump in, but what suddenly seized me was there's one of the most interesting things about this is that sort of yin yang thing about these two. So maybe at the beginning, the voiceover it could be the cannibal, like the person that you associate with someone who's wrestling with doing something bad.
Yeah.
Like what? And then by the end, you realize that the same is true, or like comes full circle, and the voiceover is coming then from your character.
Yeah.
To where I feel like if we gave that away at the beginning, I don't know, that could be good too.
Well, I thought of this no character art thing where what if we make the cannibal is the main character. He has no character arc. He's the cannibal. Like we see that transformation at the very beginning and that's just who he is. And instead of him affecting the supporting cast in a positive way, like every time he is introduced into a situation, he causes the supporting cast arc to be like they're gonna do terrible things to avoid him. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna. Yeah. I just see this like I keep having that tidbit of monologue like over a black screen, just like, what's the most terrible thing you've ever done? And imagine, what would it take for you to do something worse? You know, like
what's a more intriguing beginning to a movie? And that's what I mean. Like the first time you hear that, it's the beginning of the movie, and it's Twinkie's voice. And the last time you hear it, it's maybe, I don't know if it's the end of the movie, but it'd be great to have it come back around. This actually is sort of segues nicely or relates to Castle Rock, at least in my estimation.
Oh, sure. So, all right. So let's do.
But that's the main tidbit that you wanted. That's a great one.
That there is no character arc for the cannibal. Like that's just what he is, and like how how the rest of the cast of the movie changes in response to his one single-mindedness. I just see consumption and destruction. That's what the cannibal does. Like, I destroy this so I can consume it.
And were you saying too that basically when you were saying protagonist, were you talking about your character?
Yeah, just in that, and I just because I don't know any other thing to call that character, like the adversary of the cannibalized, that person that's just that sacrifices everything for self-preservation.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I mean, we talk about it a lot in that other movie, but it reminds me too when you talk about Mandy, like there's certain things about these genre pieces and revenge or whatever that they're endlessly fascinating because they provoke such profound, like core shaking choices and dilemmas, and the way that you're attacking that is so interesting. Anyway, yeah, that's a great tip, and that's like the tagline, even.
Yeah. What would it take to get you to do something worse?
Like, what was the worst thing you've ever done?
What's the worst thing you've ever done? And what would it take for you to do something worse? Like,
who wouldn't go see that?
I don't know. So yeah, but I've been
2018.
No, that's okay. I've been watching like videos on like how to write treatments and how to I'm really trying to like dissect this idea of just trying to break down how to start this story and how to like what do I want to happen? Like he's being chased and he does bad things. Like I know that, like, and they both do bad things. But what are those things and how do they get in those situations? And then what does it look like in the first days of an apocalypse? Like, what would that look like? Because you don't just get to Fury Road, right? Like it took, and that's why the Mad Max trilogy is just, or quadrilogy, I guess, is such a great one to look at because, the first Mad Max movie, that essentially is the first days of the apocalypse, right? Like they don't know they're in an apocalypse. Like they just know crime's pretty crazy, but there's still like a semblance of society that exists, like, I mean, one of the big pieces of conflict in that movie is like the lawyer gets all the gang off on a technicality, right? Like they like go to court still, and
well, I think a big part of that too is like they are in some kind of post-apocalyptic world, but we're being keyed into Max's story, and for Max, this is the beginning of like where he goes from being just a cop in that society to being, but it's he reached that limit and then some and fucking snapped, and then
and then by the time you get to Road Warrior, like that's any idea of that society that we could relate to. We can relate to cops. We can relate to court.
That's right.
We can relate to criminals and in good versus evil. By the time you get to Road Warrior, that's all gone. Like these people are just trying.
Any fuel they're going to find is going to be like sucked out of the gas tank of an existing vehicle or something.
And then you get to beyond the Thunderdome, and that you start to see how society is like starting to rebuild in this new image of this like post-apocalyptic society. They're, in Road Warrior, they were holding on to the last vestiges of that society through their vehicles, through the fuel, through like good and evil was still kind of like good and bad was still kind of a clear line. Beyond Thunderdome, it's this new society, this society that has risen from the ashes of that old society. And then you're seeing in Fury Road how that new society is established. Like this is what happens now. This is what there is for society now. There is law again. It's not law that we can relate to, but there are laws and leaders and powerful people and struggling people. Again, it's like a new version of that society they started with in the first Mad Max. how they're so different, but they're still similar. Like but they're on the other end of that spectrum where they're trying to creep out of that beyond the Thunderdome world into this established society where Immortan Joe and his other people can like remain in power and control the masses.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like, now that you break it down like that, it feels like Fury Road. Thunder Road.
Thunder Road. That's a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah, and a B movie before that, actually.
And the name of the Spaceship and Explorers. Like all three of those things.
Oh man, just as Castle Rock comes from Lord of the Flies, I learned.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the social structure part, and even like the chase without the like what they're trying to run to, is as though they were ignoring. It kind of feels the same role. Like you could kind of go from Road Warrior to Fury Road.
Sure.
It's like the thing, the whole Barter Town thing, and is it Auntie? It's not Auntie Anne. What's Tina Turner's character? Oh. Yeah, but it's like the most successful part of that movie in a lot of ways is that section, and it seems like they just transposed that into Fury Road in a more effective way.
But if you think about it though, Bartertown is like a primordial version of Immortan Joe's society, right? So like it's like a cross between Immortan Joe's world and the world of the Thunderdome, where it's just chaos. Like Thunderdome, they're still in or Road Warrior, they're still in the ashes of society and trying to rebuild something, you know? And it even ends on that. Like they have the fuel and they're heading off and they're like, and now we have the means that we can start something, you know? And you get to see what that is. It's not necessarily that group of people, but that starts to happen in Thunderdome. It's this primordial version of a society. Like, who runs Bartertown? Master Blast.
Yeah.
Put an echo on my voice on that. Like,
yeah.
No, but then in Immortan Joe, it's like it is a much more evolved society versus Bartertown, right?
That's true. Yeah. What I'm starting to really, some of what's special too about your Cannibalize idea, what you said earlier was awesome as well. And it's the small story, like within that larger backdrop. You know, your thing is not about the larger context of how the world is crumbling. That's like the MacGuffin to allow, like that's the thing to like let this one guy do his thing.
Yep.
And so it's not even, it's like this apocalyptic story that has nothing to do with like any of the trappings of those kinds of movies, really.
Yep.
If anything, it's like as the cannibal is like marching down the street like the Terminator, maybe the world is falling around him, but he's not even paying attention.
I see that, and I see that it's just this backdrop. It's like I just see like looting happening while he's just like got his crowbar in his mullet and like in his skinny jeans and no shirt, and like there's looting happening, and I see like I want to see like have this vision of like coming to this compound, this like group of people where it's like the seeds of something like Bartertown or Immortan Joe's society or something, where like you could see if this group of people were left to their own devices, like they would become something really twisted. And but they're not yet, because they're only like on week one of the apocalypse, you know? So, yeah. And so I have all these early visions for these things. It's just trying to process them into something tangible, you know?
Yeah, that's right. I remembered I wanted to tell you this, and I don't have all the best words, of course, but one of the people I've heard talk about adapting. So it's in a way, it's like you're trying to adapt something because it's this thing in your head that exists already. And so you're trying to translate it in some way. His name is escaping me. Shit. He wrote Taxi. Paul Schrader has said these cool things about adapting that I appreciate. And he was talking about there's only like so many things that can happen in like a traditional feature length movie. He actually gave a number to it in some documentary I saw, and he said, what I did. I wonder what this was. I feel like maybe he's talking about his adaptation of Last Temptation of Christ, which is a huge novel that I have but have not read. He's like, I put all these things on index cards, like things that happen, and then I figure out a way to somehow put it all together based on those index cards. And what's kind of that's an interesting, fun, like film school thing to say. The other place I've heard it is in the 2.5 hour documentary from Shout Factory on the making of Teen Wolf. Oh, I'm forgetting the person that talks about it, but it's kind of a similar thing. Is like we had, and that movie was just like pitched out of like a bunch of movies, and just like, all right, okay, go with that. So the people that pitched it are like, okay, Teen Wolf, and they're like, they have a bunch of index cards of scenes, and or like, I guess this should happen at some point, and then they just kind of work it around that. So in my day job, making videos for people who know they want videos, but they don't always know what that might involve or look like. I can tell with most of them that they get to the point where they're going to make it. With me, I'm just like, what are you picturing? Like, are there other videos that unfold in the way that you want to see, or just like literally, like, what do you want? What do you picture in your mind's eye? And then I start from there. Okay. So I think a combination of you thinking about those, or just like I know I want to see this. So even just thinking about, we want to see the cannibal walking down the street, that where, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like starting those concrete, possibly index cards, maybe a digital form. Then figuring it out from there, I think that's, if I had to try and do this, to try to get what was in my head out, that's where I would start. And I have done that. I've done that a lot with documentaries, actually. It's very helpful.
You know what? That's a great idea. I should, that's a great place to start. I could, I know I keep coming back to Mad Max. I wish Twinkie was here for all that Mad Max discussion.
I feel like he is anytime it comes up.
Yeah. But there's another episode of Just Right that's called What Writers Could Learn from Fury Road. And he talks about how Fury Road was this amazing movie that has groundbreaking action sequences in it, but didn't really have a script in the traditional sense that movies have scripts when they're made. And he talks about how action is really difficult for writers, especially new writers, to try to get on a page. Like, how do you, and he does this, and this is why I like that guy's essay so much, because he uses examples from real movies and real scripts. Like, this is an action sequence, and this is what it looked like in a script. And it took the director and the actors and the editors and to figure out these like 7 words to translate it to this really awesome, memorable action sequence. But the way Fury Road did it was with storyboards, basically, and how to the point that Frank Miller brought on a storyboard artist to really dissect and make this movie, essentially. Like, they had almost like, that scene in the documentary for Phantom Menace where they bring in like the wall-sized boards full of storyboards, and George Lucas has like 5 different highlighters, and he's like, and he's highlighting frames like, okay, this is this one, and and like each highlighter color had a different represent. And
for as bad a movie as that is, the documentary for that movie is fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's so good. But that's almost what like Frank Miller did, to the point that it.
Sorry, George. I know it makes sense, George, especially when you're talking about drawings and
Miller
stuff.
Is the
I just don't want the internet to get after you.
Graphic artist. Jesus.
That's all right. I mean, George, Frank.
Yeah. Anyways, that storyboard artist got a writing credit. Like, he's a co-writer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
A co-writer for Fury Road, and
that makes sense.
And he drew the storyboards. That's. And so the argument that the guy from Just Right makes is maybe Hollywood, maybe there would be more great new writers of film if Hollywood could accept these alternative ways of scripting. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but it's just like, maybe a writer, maybe somebody can't just get the words on the page the way they fit into that. I mean, there's a very structured format that I remember Larry always saying
breaks down to dollars and cents, even like a minute a page.
Yeah. And like, some people won't even look at your script if it's not formatted the right way. Like if they open the title page and see that it's not in the right format, like they'll just throw it away. They don't even read it. And, but this guy makes the case, like we could really open up maybe to a lot more talent just because they don't know that structure. If these alternative methods were acceptable, maybe somebody's a great visual person. If they could just turn in a script with storyboards, like maybe we would get a lot more great things like Fury Road, which I love that idea. So
that is very interesting. And that might be a more fun way even for you to approach.
Yeah.
An index card approach or whatever. Wow.
Every
time I hear more about this, it's more and more exciting.
I thought of a short story, like maybe writing starting with a short story. Like maybe if I can get this in as a short story first, and then adapt. Then and that ties to that adaptation thing, like with the note cards, where it's like maybe I write a short story to get the beats, and
that's right. Yeah. And just to get it out of your head. I mean, if you think about something like, I mentioned it on the last show, but we didn't get into it too much, and I'm guessing you haven't seen it yet, but the Sorry to Bother You, like that came from that Boots Briley guy. And he wrote that. That manifested in many forms over a period of years before it arrived at the theatrical film that was released. It was an album. It was a published screenplay that was different. It was all these things. And that's I think, you and I are both from we've adapted to a digital age, but we're not necessarily like digital natives. And the way that stories are told now is changing a lot. And, so I think any way that you can kind of manifest this thing, it's not like it's spent on that.
Yeah,
It's just another way that you can help develop it.
Sure.
George Miller had to make Beyond Thunderdome to get to the, which is whatever, but to get to the majesty of Fury Road, which in some ways is very similar.
Yeah. Everybody gives Beyond Thunderdome so much shit. I love that movie.
I thought you were going to say everybody gets Beyond Thunderdome eventually. No, I mean, I love that song.
I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of, again, HBO always gets like the cheapest ones, and then they blow it, like they just replay it and replay. Like there's a lot for every like episode of Westworld and Game of Thrones, there's like 8 B movies that get played 4 times a day. Right. Like,
and those are the ones that somehow stick to certain people. Like, I don't know if that's an age thing.
Well, and Beyond the Thunderdome is one of those. I never got into Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, but I like that played all the time. So, but that's at the time, Mad Max trilogy, that's the one that I had the most exposure to. And so that's the one that has like the soft spot for my heart. Remember the
fuck it,
I'll do the remembering, like the away their whole like that kid's whole that tribe of kids like whole language, and that like mask that they have him wear that like takes up his whole upper torso when they put him on the horse. It's like a weird, oh man,
Captain Walker. Yeah, I do have fond memories of that one. For me, somehow the first one occupied that space more, just because I think it was the first one I saw.
Yeah,
and it's fucking creepy. Like,
it is.
So it haunted me more than I was like fond of it. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I shouldn't rip on that. Well, I think the trouble I have with it is the only one that the bride has seen, and I'm just like, it's like, it's similar to the Rocky series where I don't know if it's the only one she's seen, maybe, but she's also fond of it, is Rocky 4. And
oh, wow.
I fucking love Rocky. Like Rocky 4 is awesome.
Yeah.
Like in so many ways, but it's not the same. It's a little bit like your Nick Cage kind of later career Nick Cage prior. I don't know. Rocky 1 is like, yeah, it's your Oscar bait and all this stuff. It's
Sure.
it broke this new ground, and it is this certain type of movie. And to her, Rocky is Rocky 4, and she dismisses the rest of it. I'm just like, hey, man, Rocky 1 is important, and I feel the same way about like the previous Mad Max movies. And of course, now with everything that the Mel Gibson has done, I don't think she will ever see or value those. And so even though I probably like Beyond Thunderdome, I'm just like, oh, I wish my wife thought better of those other movies.
Yeah.
And so it suffers somehow. I don't know.
Oh man, I wish you could convince her just to see Road Warrior. I mean, if all of them, you should see Road Warrior, right? Like, I think that's like the.
Well, see, for me, it's the first one, but I understand that. That's the vast majority of people would say.
Yeah, well, and I think that's
Warrior.
just because it's like it truly embraces that post-apocalyptic genre. Again, because the first one is like everybody is clinging to, except for the band of criminals, the motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to save this society. Like they're grasping at all of these institutions that have existed. And then except for Max Ratinsky at the very end, in the last like 20 minutes of the movie, where he's just he's broken. He's given up. And that like he represents society. Like we're not coming back from this. Like that's where you realize like, okay, we're not coming back. The world, this is the world now. And it's going to get worse. Just like the action gets worse up to that point. Like you thought twisted things had happened. But that like last thing with like Knight Rider, like
yeah,
and then like
it's so creepy.
Yeah, and like
Bronze gonna get you. Oh fuck, it's like
Yeah.
stuck in my head still.
But
Max becomes scarier than the toe cutter and his gang in that moment, and that's fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly it. And that's when you like. Oh, so it's going to get worse. We're seeing the very beginning. Like as I always say, when I talk about the cannibalized, I'm like, no movie's done the first days of the apocalypse. I now want to take that back and say Mad Max did. Like you're looking at the last days of that society, like of that world. Or
like Dawn of the Dead. Both Dawn of the Dead, but especially maybe 2004 where you see people like in their homes and stuff.
Sure.
You see those first moments and stuff. Fear the Walking Dead recently on television, I guess.
That's what that whole series centers on, right? Are those days between Rick getting knocked out and Rick waking up. That's what that.
Yeah, sort of. Except for that series has gone through some things to where now it's caught up to the timeline of the other one. Anyway, but I think one of the most interesting things, as I was mentioning about what you're dreaming up, is that how that is a backdrop that allows for this other story psychodrama to play out.
Yeah,
and an action movie, really. Oh, you should start training too.
Oh, I have to. I got it. I'm like, I need to get down to movie fat, which is like 220. As I burp. Is that fucking terrible? I'm drinking Coke Zero, which for some reason, this makes me burp like crazy, worse than beer does.
A lot of carbonation, right?
Yeah, it's like really fizzy for a soda. It's soup. Like for some reason, Coke Zero I think is like one of the fizziest sodas ever.
Do you remember that you see that Star Wars thing on Saturday Night Live where it was George Lucas asking? I think it's like Bobby Moynihan. He's like, not like a Coke Zero, and they don't have Coke Zero, and then they cut around to various other people, and he's like, I find your lack of Coke Zero disturbing. It's so great.
All right. Anyways, yeah. So, I'm gonna keep trying to crack this nut. That is the cannibalized. To get something tangible down, so that way it can grow from there. But but I need to get down to movie fat. I need to get down to like, You know how like people are like, oh, he's the fat character, and you're like, no, he's not the fat. That guy's not fat. Like, what are you talking about? So that's what I need to get down to, so I can be the cannibalized that like does terrible things to survive. You know, like think of the first like 20 minutes of 28 Weeks Later. Have you seen the sequel to 28?
Oh,
Days
I did.
Later?
I don't remember it as well, but I have seen it. Yeah,
But
it's like better than you think it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it's 11 now.
Yeah, I know. We didn't even get to Stephen.
We didn't even get to Stephen King.
Well,
So,
I had a lot going on. You had the whenever you talk about the cannibalized, I'm mesmerized, and those few
I
new
know.
lines are speak volumes.
yeah. So, well, I mean, I did get a little bit of a nap before this episode. So if you wanted to take a pee break, do you have to pee?
Of course,
I'm
yeah.
assuming you do. Or we could end it and save Castle Rock for the next time. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we could do a double shot and just do a King Corner. But every time we try that, it ends up becoming something else too. Or we could just piss and come back and just talk until midnight.
Let's do this. It's like 10 after. I'm gonna set a timer for a half an hour. Or I'm gonna set a timer for 20 minutes. When the timer goes off in 20 minutes, if we're like, oof, this is too good, then we'll like put a pin in it and maybe even like talk next week or something like that.
Okay, we could do that. You want to?
But if it's
before we do that,
yeah. And then because then we'll see. Yeah, because we don't want to like torture ourselves, and then it's like, well, we don't really have that much to say about it.
all right. Well, let's piss, and then we'll come back and we'll set your timer, and then we'll see where we're at after 20 minutes. How's that?
Yeah, either it'll be like a cliffhanger, or it'll be like, that's Castle Rock, folks.
Yeah. No, I like that. Well, let's do 30 minutes. Let's do a half hour. Yeah.
I'm up for that. Yeah,
All right.
of course.
All right, Moto, don't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll be right back.
All right, I'm rocking some ginger peach.
Nice. I am out of beverages. I've consumed I had 6 beverages. They're all gone. All I have left is 16 ounces of water in my water bottle.
These fucking weird things like how much water? 0 calorie, 12 fluid ounces, ginger peach sparkling water from Target.
Oh, nice.
If I have a problem with a substance, it's probably this one, right? These days, it's 0 everything, but Lord knows. You ever hear about these like sparkling water things like that? They're like beaver taints. Yeah,
what?
LaCroix and stuff. They're beaver taints. Like, here's what it says. They say so it's 0 everything. Ingredients: carbonated water, natural flavor. But what I'm hearing and what I've heard over the last few years is that natural flavor can mean a lot of things. So maybe it's literally beaver taints.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
It's a
just
gross
an
word.
example that they're giving. They're not
I
actually
think it was
tracing
sort
back.
of specific at some point I heard, but like There's no way to know. It's like the Netflix
Algorithm
nobody
that
knows how many people have seen your show on Netflix.
Yeah.
They keep it a secret. But man, I hope there's nothing really bad in it because I have a lot of these things.
Yeah. I speaking of taints, I'm back on the black coffee kick.
Oh, but that's not why.
I'm trying intermittent fasting, or let me be more clear. At this point, what I'm actually doing is time restricted eating.
Okay.
But there's a lot of mixed. I want to ultimately get to fasting. I would really like to. While I am losing weight, I would like to get to where I can go multiple days of not consuming, so that I'm consuming my body fat, and then and there's a lot of in the limited research that I've done, it can be very beneficial. It's good for inflammation. It's good for a lot of things. There's also a lot of negative stuff that comes along with it because, you could very easily slip into an eating disorder. That's my take on it. Because at some point it's like, well, when does it become anorexia and not fasting? Because you're not eating.
Oh yeah,
basically. Yeah. There's a documented case though of a man. He weighed like 460 pounds, who consumed nothing but a multivitamin, black coffee, black tea, and water for over a year. That's all he ate. That's all he consumed, and went from. He cut himself in half, basically. Like he, in that year, he lost that much weight. He was unrecognizable. His before, and this was a while ago. He was in Ireland, and there are, like, you find out, like, in the last like month of that, he was basically in a hospital bed, and like they were hydrating him intravenously, and like he was having a lot of issues at the very end. But up to that point, he was like, and it was because he ran out of body fat to consume, basically. Like he wasn't going to get any smaller than what he got without actually doing damage to his body. But up to that point, he had maintained a state of ketosis and was consuming, he was burning his body fat. And that's one of the things that, like, you can really, again, in the limited research that I've done, that you can really harness by doing this intermittent fasting, where you just, the simplest one that I've heard is like, you just don't eat, and you will be hungry initially for like the first 3 days. And then after that, you're just not hungry, and you don't eat again until you actually feel hunger pangs. Like there will be a point at some point in the future that your body will say, I'm hungry. And that's when you eat again. And then you'll probably make the mistake of overeating, and you'll do too much and you'll regret it. And you won't do that again the next time. But then you have to have the willpower to, like, okay, now I'm going to fast again. And it helps simulate that, like, at some point in our history as humans, we went where we did not have access to food 24 hours a day like we do now. Like it was quite possible that you might go 3 days without having food, and then you would find an abundant feast or famine, literal feast or famine. And it's trying to simulate that in a way. Ash read up a little bit on it, and one of the articles she read used the analogy of, like, imagine just keep putting leftovers in your refrigerator and never eating any of them. That's what you're essentially doing to your body, is where if you have stored body fat, that's leftovers that your body's saving. But if you just keep eating, you're going to never burn that. And so that's why you keep packing it on. So you need to give your body a chance to use that stored energy. And you do that through fasting. So that's ultimately where I want to get. I don't know. But that's why I'm back on the black coffee deal.
That sounds intense.
Because I'm trying.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
But it's intense It is intense. It sounds very off-putting because it's like you just don't eat. Just don't eat for 3 days or 4 days or 7 days, And
You can't do. A human can't do 7, right?
this guy did it for a year. He didn't eat anything but black coffee and black tea and water for a year. Over a year. He did not put food in his body.
Was he in like a concentration camp?
No, like he did. Like there's people there's people that do 30-day fasts. That's what I'd like to get up to. Is like to do a 30 days of only consuming. Some people are such sticklers. It's literally a water fast for 30 days. Like they'll only consume water for 30 days. I mean,
I literally thought you couldn't do that and live. I guess I must be wrong.
You couldn't do that. You don't have the energy reserves, the fat reserves to do that. That's all my belly is just like it's a bunch of stored energy that my body is waiting for the chance to use, like the need to use it. And so I mean, let's and there's a lot of ifs on this, but like if I got down to, let's say, a healthy body weight, I couldn't continue. That's where it would switch over to being anorexia, because then I don't have the reserves anymore for my body to use that to sustain myself through that time period. But like I have 30 days of body fat that if I'm staying hydrated during that time, I could make it. You could make it 30 days without consuming any food. Sure.
Wow. Well, I hate to always bring things back to Kevin Smith in the podcast, but he's lost an enormous amount of weight in the last couple of years. He almost died, and so that from a heart attack, and then that precipitated even more weight loss to where he looks like a different human being. And
he does.
Sometimes I wonder, I was like, I don't know, but hopefully it's good for him. But he, the methodology he's been taking, I guess, has a lot to do with, I don't remember. I don't know if it's a particular diet or something, but anyway, he talked to hopefully it's not reductive or whatever, said the comedian Penn Jillette.
Oh yeah,
he had on Smodcast, because I think he wrote a book, and Kevin Smith was a fan of him in general. But anyway, so they have this
Penn
discussion.
Jillette lost a ton of weight too. Like he used to be a really big guy, and he's like super tall, and he was really fat, and so it was like he was big all around, and now he's just like super tall and skinny.
Yeah, so I think that Kevin Smith adopted some of that, but I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts that he does, and he talks about it often, and so yeah, if you were
vegan too, didn't he?
That's a big part of it, I think. Yeah, and it's a very restrictive thing, and there was a weird thing where he's like eating only potatoes for a while, and part of the reasoning behind that is so that you never want to eat potatoes again. There's some weird stuff.
Wow.
But I think perhaps if you're frustrated with one method and you're trying to, because it sounds like to some extent, because Kevin Smith would, I've listened to him talk about this in so many ways over the years, and he would often do, he's like, he does these tremendously like restrictive things at times, and he'd be great with like these shakes and stuff, and but anyway, so and for me, like I have a much sort of smaller body mass in general, but like there is a relative thing to where that personally whatever you're doing is like, this is probably not good for me, and the change that I've seen in my body is thus. And so I detailed earlier a lot of ways in which I'm not feeling sort of internally as great as I have at other times, but physically I'm feeling much better than I have in a long time. And yeah, I've cut back on alcohol, I guess, but and I'm sure that is very significant actually for like weight gain and stuff. But I'm not doing anything too dramatic. Like I would try these things that were kind of dramatic for me and see no results. And I'd be like, what the fuck? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe if I drank less, it would make more of a difference. And I think I have to imagine, because there are two things for me that like led me to go get my ring resized, I think ultimately, but only after like 1 or 2 years. One is I hate to say it because I resisted for a long, but the Fitbit thing.
Yeah.
Fitbit really, like I meet those prescribed goals. I didn't set my own 5 to 7 days a week. But I meet them through like walking
Yeah.
for the most part. Like I walk quickly, but it's okay. But the thing about that is like that works for me. Otherwise, like I like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I mentioned the Kevin Smith thing or whatever is because maybe the fasting thing is actually sort of the magic bullet for you. But whatever it is for me, like to have seen personally the most significant results in years, it's some combination of things that I could maintain.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and that's of course, just fasting wouldn't be the part of it. Like I need to also burn calories, right? I'm not, if I didn't take any calories in, but then I'm still sitting on my ass and watching YouTube all evening after I sat in a cube all day long, I'm not burning any calories. So then it's just a wash. I'm not going to lose any weight that way either. The fasting deal, it just sounds like it's like I'm fucking lazy. And that's like, it doesn't get any easier than just don't fucking eat. You don't have to count calories.
Yeah.
You don't have to like put what you're eating inside an app. You don't have to like piss on a strip to see if you're in ketosis.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you've heard of keto. Have you heard of the keto
I've
diet?
definitely heard of keto. Like
Okay.
one of the podcasts I love most is Fighter and the Kid, which I know Logan likes and maybe Pumps. I don't know, but yeah. So one of the pair of that. It was he coined this term like the keto kid, and so that they talk about it all the time.
So keto is ketosis, right? And that's where your body is essentially running off of fat energy instead of carbohydrate energy, right? Which fat is just is high energy, right? And then you switch your body over to burning fat instead of carbohydrates, and then the trick is you still have to be at a see, this is where people screw up ketosis, like keto, is because they're like, I can eat butter and protein and high fat foods and all this stuff, but you still have to be at a caloric deficit. That's never going to change, right? Then where, you can eat all this high fat shit, but you still have to be at a caloric deficit. You can't eat 4,000 calories of butter and expect to lose weight. Like you have to burn at least 4,001 calories then at that point if you're going to lose anything. And so so in ketosis is this it's a very precarious physiological state for your body to be in. And the only way that you can truly tell that you're in ketosis is with a blood test, or they make like pool testing strips. They make those that you piss on, and it tests for ketones basically, which are a sign of ketosis, and so hardcore keto people will use those strips to make sure that they're in ketosis still, because and this is why Ash really wanted to do keto, right? And I'm like, this is never going to work. We're not regimented enough to do this. I'm just telling you right now. Like it's because it's like a science experiment. Like it is a very narrow band of consumption and exercise and that you have to keep your body in. And then that band is different for everybody. So like if the diet that Ash was eating that's keeping her in ketosis isn't necessarily the same diet that's going to work for me that keeps me in ketosis. The way that you tell is you use those fucking strips. And I'm just like, I'm like, that's not going to work. And so I keep searching, and then it gets down to this intermittent fasting and time restricted eating. And it's like, Nothing is easier than just don't fucking eat. I know that for a lot of people, they're like, no, that sounds fucking hard. But when you look at all of the other shit, all of the other diets and all that other stuff, it's just like, no, just don't put shit in your mouth. Just don't get to eat. You can have all the water, all the black coffee, all the black tea that you want. Take a multivitamin to make sure you're keeping up on your nutrients. But other than that, you just don't put shit in your face. Like,
yeah, I have experienced that actually. And for a long time, that was my go-to of like, this is how I can lose weight. Because when I was working 2004, 5, and early 6 maybe, I was working at a factory, plastics factory, where I would work 12-hour shifts. And at a certain point, kind of out of laziness, I was like bringing like ramen noodles, the instant things and stuff, and I just stopped bringing stuff. And then I think I would do that, and then I would get home and I would ride this like Power Rider thing and watch Inside the Actor Studio at my parents' house where I was living when I was like newly divorced. And I lost a lot of weight, like a really significant, kind of alarming in some ways, a lot of weight. But it didn't feel so much like a chore. It worked well with the laziness.
Yeah.
I did work out when I got home, and I think it was nice to sort of see results and stuff. But the easiest part of it was that I was in this place for 12 hours. So if I didn't bring something to eat for lunch, like this ramen noodles or something, in that 12-hour shift, it was a 12-hour shift like that. Like I wasn't going to eat anything.
Yeah, nothing.
And I lost a lot of weight. And there were times then and after that where I tried sort of similar approaches in the 8-hour shifts and stuff that I would work. And then with my commute and all this, but it was so frustrating because I was like, I'm okay. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm not seeing any difference. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's because I'm in my mid-30s instead of my mid-20s. And so for me, this thing that worked for me before didn't work again. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, well, I don't know what the fuck to do. And then eventually, like, thankfully, somehow or other, like without some kind of fad approach, I've reached some sort of thing. Like I have to imagine it's the more restrictive approach to alcohol, but it's probably, I'm sure it's like everything, but it's also not something that I will just change tomorrow. It's like a kind of thing that like, okay, it doesn't feel, I don't feel deprived. Like I feel good. Like like today I was hoping to do karate in the garage, and even though that's really hard, actually I repaired that fucking thing that I broke. I repaired the strike bag that I broke.
Nice.
With super glue, and I blew it up all the way. I'm like, oh, I think I can use this again. Anyway, it's all like I finally found some kind of combination of things after like quite a few years that are not like a super drag and that are having some kind of effect. And that's why I say like I don't weigh myself, because like I don't want to
be discouraged by that.
Or just like I do want to, like I want to feel good. I want to weigh less, blah, blah, blah. But like it can't be for me. Like it can't be. I can't feel like I'm not a monk. It's not an ascetic thing for me. Like I need to find a way, like a day that I want to repeat, over and over. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I mention all that because I do that sort of restrictive thing does resonate with me because it has worked for me at one point in time. And then what's weird is like it didn't work later. Yeah. So I guess it's my way of saying like if you can find something that actually does work for you, not only through some sort of measurable results, but in the way that you sort of, oh shit, yeah. I don't think we're going to talk about Castle Rock, but that's my big super beef with the Castle Rock creators. Sort of, kind of. Don't say it. Nobody say it ever.
What? Say it.
Sort of, kind of. Like that's one of the creators always says it. Sort of, kind of. Nothing is sort of kind. Very few things are sort of kind of.
On the podcast you're talking
makes
about?
Me crazy.
All right. Nice segue.
Anyway.
So, boop.
Yeah. Are we going to do it?
Yeah.
You want to try?
Hey Siri, set a timer for 30 minutes.
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't set the timer.
I got it.
30 minutes and counting.
All right.
Oh. So your Siri sounds hotter than mine.
series. Yeah.
Mine
She
irritates
calls me boss
but-
too.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I should try that.
Hey Siri, what do you call me?
But since we're friends, I get to call you boss.
I'm gonna try that actually. Hold on. Hey Siri, what do you call me?
She's thinking.
Your user, but you asked me to call you James Pizza.
James Pizza.
My nephew, one of my nephews did that. That's my favorite. I don't know why he called me James Pizza. I'm like, I'm totally James Pizza.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man. All right. So let's talk some King. So, well, first off, Running Man is where we left you in your chronology. So you have not moved on, right? From there?
No, but I did. I looked into the discs that you had burned, The Bride 2010-ish, and I loaded it onto my computer, and it is the George Guidall
Reading of the Gunslinger.
Yes. So I actually, that's even on my phone right now. So I haven't started, but it's there.
You know, I thought of this I also thought of this alternative. You really might get more out of it if you waited until like you were through the 90s of his other work and then just binged all of the Dark Tower books together.
Oh, like get through some of that other, because I am excited. Like basically after that, I go to the book you got me, and that's like Shawshank and Stand By Me and all this stuff,
Yep.
and then Pet Cemetery. So you're saying maybe do that
Hold
stuff
off on Dark Tower completely. Because the majority of not the majority, there's a lot of Stephen King fans that don't even touch the Dark Tower series, right? So maybe you might get more from it, like especially in the later books where you just get the nods. Like you're just like, oh man, like I remember in this book they talked about this, or oh my gosh, I can't believe that's from this book that's in the Dark Tower, you know. I think if you go up until like 96 maybe, and then just binge all of them, just get them all out of the way.
That makes some sense to me. Like, because I think for him too, as a creative person, maybe it wasn't until a certain amount of the way into it that he realized what a big deal it was. For him.
Yeah. And then that way, because I can't imagine trying to listen to them in the chronology, because you'll just always want to go back and listen to the ones before, so like what you're about to listen to makes sense. So I could see that being really repetitive. Yeah, I think wait until you get into the mid 90s of the chronology, jump the chronology, go back, listen to everything, all the Dark Tower books up to that point, plus the last of the 7. Listen to Wind Through the Keyhole when that comes into the chronology.
Oh, like kind of. Do you think I could start there and then actually jump back to the other books,
No,
or when I start to approach that?
So that's like book 4.5, but it came out in 2010. But it takes place right in the middle of the series. It's like an additional story. So let that one happen when it happens in your chronology.
But don't start there. Like when that's coming up, start with the Gunslinger, or start with Wind in the Keel and then go back to the Gunslinger.
Oh no, go start with because Wind Through the Keyhole takes place after Wizard and Glass. So your next is the Gunslinger. Then there's Drawing of 3. Then there's the Wastelands. Then there's Wizard and Glass. In the story arc of the Dark Tower, Wind Through the Keyhole then would happen. But don't put it in there, because that book came out after he had finished the series. So like there's books 5, 6, and 7, but Wind Through the Keyhole happens before, in the story arc of the Dark Tower happens before 5, 6, and 7. Even though it came out after all of the Dark Tower books.
Oh, wow. I feel like I'll have to check in with you when I get closer. It sounds more complicated than I realized. I'm excited, though.
Yeah, no, just don't worry about Wind Through the Keyhole.
Okay.
When you start the Dark Tower books, don't listen to Wind Through the Keyhole. Just do the 7 Dark Tower books, the actual 7 Dark Tower books that were the arc of the story. Just do those all together. And Wind Through the Keyhole, just pretend like it doesn't exist until you hit it in your chronology then.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll follow your lead. It's been great so far.
Yeah. So different seasons would be next, man.
Yeah, that's I have that.
Method is such a good fucking short story, and that's the one that hasn't been adapted yet. So out of those 4. But I'm excited for you to watch Shawshank Redemption.
Oh God, me too. Yeah, especially after Castle Rock.
Especially after Castle Rock. There's so much. There's so much that it takes place. First off, in Shawshank plays such a big role in Castle Rock.
Well, let me bring this up because I had this other idea. So we have this timer, and Castle Rock is what it is, and I don't know how much you have to say about it, but there's a couple other things we have on the King corner.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to try and talk about those first, or I don't know? I'm not sure. Like I'm conflicted as to whether or not to try to address Castle Rock this late in the evening.
Well, let's see if we can just do these quick. Horror Legend, Toby Hooper.
Because Castle Rock, it's like a 10 episode. It's a 9-hour easily Stephen King movie, kind of that hasn't existed before.
Oh man, is the Mangler? Is that a Shout Factory?
Did I put that in there?
Yeah.
Which one is that? Future Works? Oh, Breaking. Oh yeah, yeah. So let me open that up. I don't necessarily want to dissuade us from talking about Castle Rock. I just don't want to shortchange
these other ones pretty quick. So like Maximum Overdrive, Long Walk Short Drink episode. I don't even know when we made it.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It was early. Yeah, I actually just listened to one of my favorite podcasts is How Did This Get Made, and it's often a live show, and they basically talk about movies that are, well, quote unquote bad. I don't think they would call them that. And it's a great, like, it's not a mean spirited thing. They talk about, they're just like, what the fuck is going on here? Or like, how did this happen? But they also, they will also willingly acknowledge like, this is magnificent, like great, like badness or whatever. A lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, which I really appreciate. And I just so happen to have listened, every once in a while they'll release, because they've been doing this for a while. Every once in a while they'll release several episodes that are behind a paywall, and they'll put them out that, old episodes that podcast listeners can listen to without subscribing to some monthly thing. And Maximum Overdrive was part of one of those recently. And so I just listened to it this week, and it was just great to hear them talk about, things the lines in that movie, etc.
We talk about it on episode 6. So
yes, episode 6. So yeah,
which is funny because episode 6 was Maximum Overdrive and episode 7 was Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, we found our groove pretty early on.
Sure.
But that's getting a truckload of special features on Blu-ray.
Yeah, and it's not Shout Factory putting it out.
It's a shame.
Which I know we give a lot of
but it's Vestron. I support that. I remember we talked about this a little bit before, but like that's I don't know, your space camps, your Monster Squad, all kinds of stuff when you're a kid, or if you were a kid in the mid 80s, came out on Vestron Video. They would acquire, they were like the Shout Factory of their day.
And if this is the box art that they're using, they got past the Green Goblin copyright issues. That's what, for the longest time, other than the original box art, like it was just it was a generic semi truck and not the actual truck that's the antagonist of Maximum Overdrive. But this is essentially getting a Shout Factory treatment, and this is what
it is. Yeah, I have some other Vestron releases that they're doing what they can.
Oh yeah. So here's some of the things: new audio commentary. There's two.
I was so excited because I saw Stephen King. I'm like, it's fucking Stephen King talking about this movie, but he's not.
No. Truck Stopper Tales featurette, Rage Against the Machines featurette, a bunch of behind the scenes featurettes, and 2 new commentaries. And it's going to be put on Blu-ray. I mean, it's worth it just for the good box art. It's like
there's a lot of stuff as a Blu-ray and special features connoisseur. Like minus having you have to take what you can get sometimes. Like, and so Stephen King is not going to talk about it. You're not going to see Emilio Estevez or whatever. But there's 2 audio commentaries. There's several featurettes about a wide number of things. Like I'm into it. I will get this.
Yeah,
I will shill.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be great. And then to follow that up, you have on here.
Similarly, that looks like this one is a Shout Factory situation. The Mangler breaking the horror legends Tobe Hooper, Robert Englund, and Stephen King teamed up for 1995's bone-crunching tale of The Mangler, which comes from Night Shift's short story collection, coming to Blu-ray for the first time on December 11th. And Tobe Hooper famously directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Robert Englund, of course, is Freddy Krueger. And, of course, Stephen King. So, yeah, I was never especially interested in this.
Oh, man, there's a Creepshow collector's edition.
Yes, and that is...
Have you seen Creepshow?
No, I have never seen Creepshow, and I pre-ordered this fucker, and this is one of the ones that will come 2 weeks early because I ordered it directly from shoutfactory.com.
It's fantastic. Both Creepshows are fantastic. I'm pretty sure Stephen King also is one of the executive producers on Creepshow 2, but he actually is. So this is an anthology horror movie where there's little vignettes basically that are almost taken directly from the Creepshow comic books. There's like Vault of Terror, Tales from the Crypt.
Holy fucking shit. One of the bonus features is audio commentary with George Romero and special effects makeup artist Tom Savini. So George Romero passed away.
Yep.
And Tom Savini is Tom fucking Savini.
He's the main character in one of the vignettes. You can see him if you look in the box art to the right, the guy that's covered in green.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I recognize him.
That's Stephen King, and that's his character. He plays like this bumbling idiot, and a meteor crashes on his farm, and he doesn't know what to do and touches it and then catches it. It's great. It's fucking awesome.
It says here that Roger Ebert, the quote from Roger Ebert is, plays like an anthology of human phobias. And this release includes a 40-page booklet.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've been working on this thing I won't talk about now, but I did a 35-page PDF booklet for this thing of my own. That takes a long time. And so I have an appreciation of that number of pages both as a creative person and as someone who can't wait to read those 40 pages because it is coming in the mail. Oh my God. This is a very, very long list of shit that is on this features that is on this. Wow. And I never saw this. The Bride too, with her sister, there's a story where her sister is scared of things, her older sister, and there was something where they used this movie, The Bride and her mom, to scare her sister. So that was the only, and there's did we say? Yeah, George Romero. It's a collaboration between George Romero and Stephen King. So that's pretty cool.
That right there is enough to get me, but it's new 4K scan of the original camera negative. Awesome. Audio commentary with director of photography, audio commentary. Man, Terror in the Three Rivers. That is a lot of shit. That's almost worth getting. I couldn't justify that to Ash. There's no way.
I'll let you know though. I'll give you the review.
And the second one does not get as much notoriety as the first one, but it's still worth checking out. I remember the second one a lot just because there's some good boobs in that one.
Oh, I'm
in.
in.
And I was young.
That's all I need.
I was young, so
that'll do even
that was
now for
another
me.
reason why I liked horror movies when I was young. I was allowed to watch them, and there was always boobs in horror movies. So
Yeah, I tried a lot of stuff, try to see boobs, and sometimes it didn't work out.
No.
So if there was a sure thing, I mean, in terms of you think oh well, this is rated R, and so I saw a lot of classy pictures as I think I mentioned on the podcast, in the hopes of seeing boobs.
I've done that too. That's the other end of the spectrum. And then we're gonna have to do a Castle Rock episode, I think, because
that seems okay.
We're gonna run out of time.
I mean that
okay.
seems
It's 10
justified.
episodes. It's 10 hours worth of film. I hate to cram it in 10 minutes. So let's wrap with the last thing that's on this list is the future works of Stephen King. So something did just get put out by him. I have it on standby at the library. I can't wait for it to come in. Is this it's not even on this page anymore. It was still on the page, but it's a 10 Tales of Terror or whatever, which is Stephen King hates to fly. He talks about, if you know him, when he goes on book tours, most of the time he drives himself around the country, which I cannot corroborate this at all. But one of my principals when I was teaching, I mentioned that I really like Stephen King, and he said, without missing a beat, my principal looked at me and he's like, I almost killed Stephen King once. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. So I was driving. At the time I was in college. It was the summertime, and I was working for, I don't know if he was working for the city or ODOT or somebody, but he was driving a government vehicle, like a work truck that was loaded with a bunch of stuff that they used to block up a road with. And he said he was going down the highway. It was the middle of the night, so the road was pretty much dead. And he was going down the highway, and he thought that this stuff was secured in the bed of the truck, and it wasn't. And it flew out of the truck and almost hit the car behind him. The only other, of course, he's like, of course, there's another car on the road, right? And almost hits them. So we pull over, and I'm talking to the guy and apologizing. And he said, I looked and saw his license plate. And this is what I wish I could remember what he said the license plate said, but it was a vanity plate. But this little tidbit is what gave this story all the credibility to me. It was a horror reference on the license plate. Fuck, I wish I could remember what it was. But then he's like, then I realized it was Stephen King. And he said that he was driving across the country on a book tour and happened to be passing through Cincinnati. And my fucking principal almost killed him. Man, fucking outrageous, right? So Jesus. But anyways,
I know that plate. I'm sure it'll come to you.
Long walk
but...
for, I could probably text him.
Oh,
and ask him. Not now, but I might text him tomorrow and ask him
for our follow-up.
So anyways, he hates flying. So Bev Vincent, who wrote The Road to the Dark Tower, which is if you're a Dark Tower fan, it's just the first half of it is a summary of the books or a summary of the history that led to the writing of the Dark Tower. And then there's some summary of the books and then some reflection on the books. But Bev Vincent wrote that. I highly recommend it. But he collaborated with Stephen King on this collection of 10 tales that are, I guess, supposed to be terrifying things that have to do with airplanes. Because Stephen King hates flying so much. And the joke of it is that they want people to buy it at an airport to read while they're on a plane. And it the picture of it, the cover is a plane going down. And it says 10 Tales of Terror, and that angled script, that high popping angle, so it looks like it's coming out. And but that used to be, man, long walk for a short drink. That used to be on the Future Works page. It's not on there anymore because it's been out for a while now. So the only other future work that's on there is the one that's getting released October 30th. Man,
Ooh.
soon, right?
Yeah.
This
God damn it! What is
it sounds so good. It's called Elevation. It's like the next Castle Rock novel. It takes place in Castle Rock. I don't want to read all of it, but I want to say, just on the limited, I want to feel like it's his response to this divisiveness, this divide that's occurring right now in America. And it says upbeat, which is not a word you usually see associated with Stephen King or Castle Rock. The latest from legendary master storyteller Stephen King, a riveting, extraordinary, eerie, and moving story about a man whose mysterious affliction brings a small town together. A timely, upbeat tale about finding common ground despite deep-rooted differences. And so, doesn't that just sound like what we need right now?
Yes.
You know? So I'm really looking forward to that. It's just based on the synopsis that's on this page right here.
That's awesome. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, but it takes place in Castle Rock, which is really in the small town of Castle Rock, the setting of many of King's most iconic stories. Scott is engaged in a low-grade but escalating battle with the lesbians next door, whose dog regularly drops his business on Scott's lawn. One of the women is friendly, the other cold as ice. Both are trying to launch a new restaurant, but the people of Castle Rock want no part of a gay married couple, and the place is in trouble. When Scott finally understands the prejudices they face, including his own, he tries to help. Unlikely alliances, the annual foot race, and the mystery of Scott's affliction bring out the best in people who have indulged the worst in themselves and others. I'm sure there's going to be plenty to like. That's going to be cringy and awful to hear. I'm just excited that he's off of the detective novels. You know, the Mr. Mercedes. The Outsider was really in the Mr. Mercedes vein. I'm really excited for this. Like super excited.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like him when he was stuck on, and I'm not even really very much past it, but in his early career, he was very much right. He wrote a lot of novels about telekinesis, pyrokinesis, like all of that stuff.
Yep.
But and it feels a little bit repetitive. Like he minds it well, and he gets a lot out of it. And he's one of the great character writers. I don't know, probably in American history, really, American literature. I don't know. People don't say that, but it's pretty great. And anyway, so but I know what you mean. Like it's probably time for him to move to a new phase of things.
Yeah. So let's go back to Castle Rock. So
we'll talk Castle Rock in greater depth very soon. We'll be back and forth. I think next week could work, but regardless, it'll be the next episode that folks hear. I have nothing but love for that series.
A double shot?
Which is very possible, but
let's not do a double shot. Let's just stick to our thing, and we'll just plan for our next episode. Episode 55 is going to be Castle Rock. That'll give me a chance to kind of do some more research, because right now all I really have is like my memory of watching the episodes and listening to that podcast, which I think if I get a chance to like really I need to know. I really need to decide who the fucking kid is.
Did you watch the closing moments? The bride told me we shut it off a little too early. Like there was a little something at the very end. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't see that.
Do you know what it is?
Not yet. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no.
Sounds like it's good.
It is. I mean, it has nothing to do with like the main story of Castle Rock. It's just a nice like fan service. It's a little bit of fan service.
Oh, okay.
And if you like it's the Jackie Torrance character.
I was wondering. I was like, where does she go in all of this? And that seems so Yeah. Okay. Good.
Which is a great fucking. I mean, she's related to the Jack Torrance. Like
I know. Yeah.
and like,
I think she adopted that name a little bit.
oh yeah, her name's
right?
not
Yeah.
Jackie.
It's Deborah or something.
Yeah.
That's not right.
But she is Torrance because she says like my uncle was this guy who like murdered his tried to murder his family at this hotel in Colorado, and so I mean, very clearly letting you know she is related to the Jack Torrance from The Shining, which just opens up all kinds of questions, and that's what we'll leave you with. Like that's just one little tease on why you should get Hulu and go. Maybe Hulu will sponsor us. Go to
why you should listen to this show.
.com/LWSD to sign up for your free Hulu trial. That's not true. Don't go to that URL.
But I watched the show. I've been listening to the Stephen King catalog, and I listened to the really, really rewarding podcast, Footnote, the Castle Rock official podcast, which you can find. But after all that, even just mentioning these things to my old friend Palmer, he's like, oh, there's so much more. So I'll be tuning in next time just to hear all of those things that only you can bring to the table, sir.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I'm going to go. I might try to go through some of the key episodes again. Sissy Spacek is just so fucking awesome. And
yeah, really everyone is like, it's really well done.
Yeah.
I think even if you don't have an attachment to Stephen King, it's so obvious that you're really good at storytelling hands watching that show.
Her performance though just catches you off. You forget how good of an actress she is, and just like it just catches you off guard. Like that. Oh geez, I could cry just thinking about that. The episode she gets the queen. That fucking goddamn is that good, man. Yeah. So tune in to episode 55 of Long Short Drink, where we will give this show its due and give it a proper long walk short drink discussion. If you
sounds very well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have the time between now and then, sign up for your free. You get a 30-day free trial of Hulu. Give the show a try.
Yeah,
while you're there, you can watch all
you'll get hooked quick. I think. Like if you start it, if you don't love it in the first couple, you probably won't. But then you just let your free trial lapse.
If you need more of a selling point, in addition to Castle Rock, you get Handmaid's Tale, which is like getting all kinds of like critical praise. All 3 existing seasons of Rick and Morty are there to binge.
Yes. Which you really sold me on. I mean, like, I've heard great things. Krams is really into it. I tried one. I'm like, okay, I need to give this more time. After what you've said, as soon as I move through Twin Peaks, I think I'm gonna have to get in Rick and Morty.
Just seriously, just fucking. It's so fucking smart. It's so. I've never seen such dedication to continuity. Ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And like across 3 seasons of a cartoon show. Like, man, goddamn,
I'm so excited. Wow,
and
that's so cool.
Fucking watch Mandy. I don't care how you do it. Like, watch Mandy. Like, if it's playing in the theater, go see it in the theater. Get it from any of those like digital rentals or whatever, but see fucking Mandy. And if you see it, you gotta let me know what you think about it. Like,
oh yeah, I'm pretty excited to watch it this weekend. I might not, but I think I'm pretty motivated.
So, all right. So go to
one more thing. Just go to vote.org. Please, for the love of God, it takes less than 2 minutes. Just vote your conscience. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Vote.org.
Yep. That's all.
Go to audibletrial.com/LWSD. Sign up for your free audiobook. Listen to Cujo. Listen to The Running Man. See if Different Seasons is on there.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Next foray into the Stephen King universe. Go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, wherever you get your podcast episodes. Leave us a review on that platform. Because you're not the only one that probably gets podcasts from that platform. So leave us a review. If you have a couple minutes, we'd really appreciate it. Help get the word out of Long Walk Short Drink to the masses. Oh, there's a timer.
Oh, we did it, man!
Yeah, we
Not
did
only
it.
your spiel's magnificent, but you did it right on time, which I could never do.
Yeah, and
talking about Lord knows what. Mid thought.
Go to if you go to any of those platforms. Also, do us the favor going over to our YouTube page. Just search Long Walk Short Drink in YouTube, and subscribe there so we can get to our 100 mark, so that we can get our unique URL. As soon as we do that, the sooner you have to you get to stop hearing me say that every episode. Maybe we'll try that tactic now and see if we can get another 10 subscriber bump. We did a good push and went from like 52 to 63, like almost, I feel like, from one recording to the next recording. So
yeah,
which was great. So I'll take another like 10-person bump, whatever that takes. And then follow us on Twitter at LWSD pod. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Go to Hulu, sign up for your free trial, watch Castle Rock. We'll be back in episode 55 to discuss that. So this is Palmer signing out from Dayton, Ohio.
This is Dave signing out from Northfield. Thank you, sir. I feel so much lighter leaving this conversation than I did come into it.
Awesome. Me too. I feel great. Thanks so much. As always, like, goddamn, I get so much from this, more than you probably know. So
yeah, me too. I can never predict how much. I'm just like, I know I'll feel better, but it's always surprising to me how and how much.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks a lot. Love you, buddy. Moto,
Love
if
you
you're
too.
still there, love you. Otherwise, I love all you guys listening, and love you, buddy. Roadman.
There he is. Yeah, give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
Thanks a lot for listening. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. This is Palmer signing out.
Cheers, Long Walk.
Long walk, short drink. Long walk, short drink. You've taken that long walk, oh short drink. This was a long walk, fucking short drink.
We'll get there eventually.
You just don't put shit in your face. Yeah.